From X-Men to Dimensional Gods. Chapter 61. Secret Mission. Pure improvisation, made up on the spot. The moment Carl realized he'd landed in the Resident Evil movie universe, he slapped together this cover identity. Exposure didn't worry him. As long as he stayed mysterious and used a little foreknowledge, he could keep the persona bulletproof. As for saving Raccoon City, that part was sincere. Not because Carl was some saint overflowing with mercy for a town about to turn zombie. He needed a lab rat. Sure, he'd somehow dropped into a world that had nothing to do with Marvel, and going home looked impossible, yet in another way this wasn't bad news. First, if this wasn't the Marvel Universe, the Phoenixes probably couldn't reach here, so maybe he could finally absorb the Phoenix fragment inside him. Second, back when the Logan world ended, his spatial magic had surged. He didn't know why, but a traveler might assume that the growth of his unique spatial power was tied to altering the plot. He couldn't be sure, yet Raccoon City looked like the perfect petri dish. And, of course, the sheer magnetism of the lady named Jill standing in front of him didn't hurt. So on the banks of the Mendez River, Carl, out of his hazmat suit, locked eyes with the stunning, romantic Jill. Jill felt the stare, but right now she had bigger worries. Save Raccoon City? What do you mean? Those monsters just now, are they connected? She caught Carl's hesitant look. It made her anxious. She had to show more goodwill and probed. If we're partners, don't I deserve the full story? Their gazes met. Meeting Jill's steady eyes, Carl seemed convinced. You're right. But if you want the truth, you must promise to follow certain suggestions after you hear it, otherwise I stay silent. Jill's eyes clouded. She hated the condition, but everything today told her whatever came next would be far from simple. I agree. Good. I trust your integrity, Ms. Jill, you won't break your word. Only then did Carl begin. You saw those creatures. They're bioweapons created by Umbrella Corporation, turning people, or animals, into mindless undead driven only by hunger. The key is a virus Umbrella engineered. My mission: destroy the virus completely, and as insurance, secure a vaccine. Jill's eyes flew open, her face drained of color. After a moment she asked the critical question, how bad is this virus? Hard to say, but if it gets out, all of Raccoon City becomes hell. Jill went sheet white. She didn't doubt him, she'd already seen how terrifying those undead were. At the mental image of the whole city turned into ravenous corpses, she shuddered. She fumbled for a cigarette, stuck it between her lips, then patted her pockets, no lighter. A sharp flick sounded, a flame danced in front of her. Carl had produced a lighter from nowhere. Thanks. She leaned in, lit up, took a long drag, and when the nicotine steadied her she asked, so the virus has already leaked? No. Carl knew she meant the wastewater plant. For now Umbrella still controls it. If it were loose we wouldn't be standing here chatting. Then what were those things that killed my squad? Think of it as a testing ground. Testing ground. Exactly. Umbrella needs to gauge their bioweapons power and harvest combat data. Truthfully Carl wasn't sure. Games had that setup, and the famous scene of Jill being stalked by a tyrant, but this was the movie universe. It didn't really matter. Jill could hardly march into Umbrella HQ to check. Yet his casual tone made Jill tremble with rage, especially remembering the surveillance cameras tracking her. You mean those Umbrella fools used my teammates' lives just to field test their monsters? I know it's infuriating, Ms. Jill, but I need you calm. The viral threat has only just begun. The Delta-trained Jill clenched her fists until her knuckles went white, then thought of something and paled further. Shit, so that whole Raccoon 21st Century plan. Carl stayed silent. He'd never heard of it. He knew the films well, but the games. Only some clips, hazy memories. Jill didn't care anymore. She locked eyes with him. I have to expose this and save the city. She waited for Carl's nod. She'd just promised to follow his advice. Carl raised an eyebrow. I understand, and honestly, I won't stop you. Her relief lasted seconds before his next words froze her. But I don't recommend it. It's pointless. Umbrella already owns Raccoon City, hell, most of the country. Your mayor, councilmen, judges, media, even your police director, they're all Umbrella. Don't believe me. Try it. Just don't expose me. Jill fell silent, smoked the cigarette down to the filter, then looked up. How do I help you? Jill, of course, wasn't going to take it lying down. That very day she marched straight to the director and laid out everything her team had encountered on the mission, denouncing every last crime of Umbrella Corporation. Everything connected with Carl was naturally left out. Yet, just as she'd expected, Raccoon City Police Chief Brian Irons dismissed it as the ravings of a lunatic. Under the pretext of looking into it, he told her to go cool her head. Then Jill discovered just how terrifying Umbrella could be. Barely a day later, when she returned to the wastewater plant with new police colleagues and a gaggle of reporters, everything had vanished. The monsters, the corpses of her dead teammates, even the blood on the walls and the bullet holes. More chilling still, the plant had resumed full operation, packed with workers. Before the cameras, the plant manager spoke glibly. There had never been any monsters, the brief shutdown had merely been due to a mechanical fault. Watching the bustling workforce, Jill felt as if everything she'd lived through the previous day had been a dream. Her teammates' deaths were officially blamed on a wild beast attack. From there, everything around Jill spiraled downward. While both the department and her STARS comrades, convinced she was traumatized by her partner's deaths, treated her with sympathy, the press was far less charitable. Within 5 days, Jill became front-page news across Raccoon City, smeared with every imaginable lie. Some even claimed she'd hallucinated the whole thing on drugs. Police Chief Brian Irons seized the opportunity to suspend her, granting her a month-long vacation. "Brian, you're nothing but Umbrella's lapdog." Raccoon City Police Station. Jill stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. Her colleagues exchanged awkward glances. Civilians waiting in the lobby whispered among themselves. A male officer started to console her, but one look at her thunderous face and he thought better of it. With nothing left to do at the precinct, she left, climbed into her SUV, and drove home. Though STARS paid decent salaries, Jill, single and frugal, still lived in the city-run studio apartments reserved for municipal employees and police personnel. She pushed open her door to find Carl lounging on the sofa, eyes on the TV. Ever since their 5-day-old deal, Carl had asked for a safe house. She'd brought him here. Partly because the building was Raccoon's most secure, partly because she hoped to squeeze more intel out of the enigmatic man. Her apartment was spacious enough that giving him a room cost her nothing. Yet it irked her that each evening she returned exhausted to find him vacation mode, remote in hand. Just now, in pajamas and slippers, he looked utterly at home while her photo flashed on-screen beneath the caption, "Fraud. Psycho." Calm as ever, he glanced up. "Ms. Valentine, you seem less than cheerful." She dropped onto the couch, crossed her legs, flicked a lighter, lit a cigarette, and exhaled in exasperation. "If a shrink just diagnosed you with bipolar depression, you'd be peachy too." Bright side. "I'm suspended, 1 whole month." A quirky grin tugged at Carl's mouth. "Well then." He didn't twist the knife. Instead he asked, "What would lift your spirits? Drink." She rolled her eyes, about to remind him he'd been mooching free meals, then something sparked. Leaning forward, she said, "If you really want me happy, how about a gift? You've crashed here 5 days rent-free." A gift? What sort? Those blades. From the moment she'd seen the twin swords 5 days ago, felt their impossible edge, she'd coveted them. Pretty she might be, but Jill was first-rate military. Lethal toys always turned her head. Carl blinked, surprised she'd asked for the swords. Yet meeting those hopeful eyes, he shrugged. "You sure know how to pick presents. I've had them less than a month. Keep one for myself, all right." After all, they were spoils of war, and the recipient was a beautiful lady. Delight lit her face. Without a word she strode into his room and returned cradling the adamantium double blades. Incredible. She whisked both free of their sheaths, sliced the air, then, without hesitation, swung at her dining table. The 10-centimeter hardwood edge parted like paper, effortless. Eyes shining, she resheathed the swords and bounced onto the sofa. "What metal is this? I've never seen anything so sharp." Carl didn't look up. "Adamantium, an alloy so tough it's virtually indestructible, and it absorbs kinetic energy." Absorbs energy. She blinked. "Meaning, hand me a blade." She passed him the one she hadn't chosen. He clamped a suppressor onto a pistol, pressed the muzzle against the edge, and fired. Jill's jaw dropped. No ricochet, no spark, The bullet simply kissed the metal and dropped, its momentum gone. Exactly that. The alloy can absorb impact, shock, even displacement. In theory, you could parry almost anything, though, being a blade, it can't shield your whole body like a tactical shield. Her eyes gleamed brighter. Got it. And they're still scalpel sharp. He picked up a spoon from the coffee tray. Like the table, it parted with a whisper. Now Jill hugged her new sword, utterly smitten. Magnificent blade. Thanks. For the first time she thanked him aloud, even after he'd saved her life, the words hadn't crossed her lips. Carl merely arched an eyebrow, killed the TV, and spread a city map between them. Feel better. Good. Time for business. As usual, before we proceed we need consensus on one point, otherwise there's no deal. Jill's expression turned grave. Which is? Simple. In the coming Resident Evil we won't be able to save everyone. What do you mean? Was Jill unable to understand what Carl was saying? Of course not. She simply wasn't willing to accept it at the moment. Ms. Jill, after everything we've been through these past few days, you've seen how terrifying the Umbrella Corporation can be. Its tentacles already control all of Raccoon City. Unless some irreversible special event occurs, no one will believe that a virus created by Umbrella could destroy the city. Jill's good mood instantly plummeted. You're talking about a virus leak. Without giving her time to think, Carl answered immediately. Yes. Jill's face turned extremely ugly. But you said that virus is powerful enough to turn Raccoon City into hell. Yes, I did. That's exactly why we need to reach a consensus, because this time, a lot of people are going to die. Can't we stop the leak? Then we could save everyone. Jill asked hesitantly. Sorry. I can't do it. Carl unfolded a map and pointed to a marked spot, the location of the mansion. To stop the leak, we'd have to enter here, destroy Umbrella's secret research base, and wipe out every virus inside. Wait. Jill interrupted, pointing to another site, Umbrella's downtown headquarters in the upper city. Shouldn't we go there? Why the mansion? That's just a suburban sanatorium Umbrella set up. Carl answered her confusion. That's only the headquarters on paper. Umbrella's real Raccoon City HQ is beneath the mansion. Its codename is the Hive, a vast underground complex. Jill once again felt Umbrella's terror. As a member of Raccoon's STARS, having lived here for years, she'd had no idea the true headquarters was right here. Then can we storm in and destroy the virus? Sorry, no. Even if we had plenty of people. First, until the virus leaks, Umbrella remains a perfectly legal global pharmaceutical company. We have no grounds to enter. Second, sneaking in is impossible. The facility is managed by the most advanced AI on Earth, Umbrella's Red Queen. We'd be spotted the instant we set foot inside. Carl's words left Jill silent. She felt the urge to smoke again. But when she pulled out the pack, it was empty. The past few days had been so grueling that only nicotine could calm her. Just then, a lollipop appeared in front of her. Sweet things can cheer people up too. Jill's expression turned odd. Why do you have this? Do you have kids? No. Carl shook his head, answering simply. I've adopted some lovely children, so I keep these on hand to keep them happy. Forgot to take them out before coming here. For some reason Jill's mood lifted. Looking at the lollipop, she took it and muttered. I'm not a little girl. I know, but it's all I've got. She rolled her eyes prettily, accepted his kindness, put the lollipop away, and said. There really isn't another way. A lot of people will die. No way. And even without Raccoon City, there are other places. Umbrella has more than one secret base, they're all over the world. It's a ticking bomb, sooner or later it will go off. The only question is where. Jill pondered for a moment. So you're sure the bomb will detonate in Raccoon City? Yes, that's why I came here. Still, Jill was reluctant to give up. She stared at Carl with firm, almost pleading eyes. Isn't there even the tiniest chance? Under that beautiful gaze Carl couldn't hold out. Saving everyone is impossible. All we can do is save as many as possible, because I don't know exactly when the virus will leak. In truth, Carl really didn't know. He wasn't sure if the movie ever specified the exact day, but he personally had no idea. Jill realized she was asking too much. After all, she couldn't even handle the small problem at the wastewater plant, yet she expected Carl to save the whole city. Sorry, I'm just anxious. Thanks for telling me all this. So, to save more people, what should we do? Then we've reached a consensus. Save as many innocents as possible. Yes. I'll give you every bit of help I can. Good. It'll be hard, but we will try our best. Right, we will. At that moment, after only 6 days, Carl and Jill had at least become comrades who could trust each other. Without wasting time, Carl produced 2 photos and placed them on the table. Jill looked. They seemed to be of a father and daughter. This man is Charles Ashford, his daughter is Angela Ashford. Jill still didn't see how they related to saving the city, until Carl dropped the bombshell. The umbrella virus that turns living people into zombies was created by this Dr. Charles Ashford. What? Before Jill could explode, Carl's next words silenced her. Of course, he didn't do it on purpose. He did it for his daughter, Angela Ashford. She has a genetic disease. Dr. Ashford created the virus to save her, but Umbrella stole his work. You said you've been suspended, that might be a good thing. I need you to watch these 2 closely, because if he could create the virus, he can also create a vaccine to kill it. Jill's eyes lit up completely. Afraid she'd rush off and ruin everything, Carl quickly added. You can't approach him yet. Just watch. A person this critical, Umbrella won't let anyone near. If you expose yourself, they'll whisk him away and we may never get the vaccine. His low tone made Jill realize the stakes. She nodded. Understood. When can I make contact? I'll tell you when the time's right. Still uneasy, Carl added. Jill, I don't doubt your tracking and counter-tracking skills, but our enemy isn't just human. There's also that I mentioned. Be wary of every electronic device, phones, cameras, everything. Got it. Good. A vaccine gives us a weapon against the virus, but manufacturing it takes time, while the virus spreads too fast. Fortunately, these zombies are terrifying but still flesh and blood. With enough firepower we can wipe them out. And the place with the biggest stockpile of weapons in Raccoon City right now is. Jill's eyes snapped to a building in the center of the map. Raccoon City Police Department. Exactly. Carl gave Jill an approving look. So, once the virus leaks and the whole city descends into chaos, to keep things under control, we have to secure the police department first. Only with its firepower can we face whatever comes next, but that alone is nowhere near enough. As he spoke, Carl drew a circle in the very center of the map, enclosing the Central Police Department, City Hall, Central Station and Mountain Station. Our goal is to save as many people as possible, so we need a place that can hold and protect everyone. Luckily, Raccoon City's population is small, barely 100,000. If we occupy these sites we can shelter the whole city. Once our perimeter is strong enough, the zombies won't stand a chance. Unfortunately, the virus spreads fast. We must seize the initiative before everything unravels, convince every citizen to trust us and accept our protection. That's going to take a lot of manpower. Jill studied the map thoughtfully. The 2 of us can't do it alone. And how are we supposed to make everyone believe us? Right. I can't solve the manpower problem. Jill, that part's up to you. After all, you've served here as a cop for years. Jill's gaze drifted in thought. I understand. I'll reach out to my colleagues at the precinct and several friends, they've got plenty of guns. I can't help you directly, but I can still give you indirect support. Under Jill's curious stare, Carl asked. If the virus really does leak, who do you think will find out first? Jill's eyes lit up. You mean Raccoon City's top officials and rich businessmen? Exactly. When the time comes, I'll record footage of them fleeing and hand it over. Meanwhile, I'll keep the mansion under surveillance and capture as much evidence of the monsters as I can. If that's the case, I'll have a real chance of persuading everyone. Besides the police department, there's one more place you need to keep in mind. Plenty of weapons are stored there. If we can get our hands on them, all the better. Where? Carl pointed to a distant spot on the map. Jill recognized it instantly. Raccoon City's Douglas Prison. Correct. But this is only our fallback destination, too far away, and the inmates themselves are dangerous. Got it. Once we have the weapons and the manpower, these zombies won't seem half as terrifying. Still, there's one more thing to watch out for. What? Umbrella Corporation. Carl gave the answer. Everything we're doing is basically exposing Umbrella's evil. Do you think Umbrella will let us walk away? They might even lock down Raccoon City and obliterate everything, say, with a nuclear warhead, to bury their scandal. At that instant, Jill shuddered. The mental image was too horrifying. Are they insane? They engineered a virus this terrifying. What do you think? Carl shot back. Jill was at a loss for words. If that really happens, what do we do? That's exactly why, besides the police department and city hall, we have to secure these 2 railway stations. They'll be our only way out. While you're suspended, I want you to investigate everything I just described and prepare our escape route. I understand. I'll head out right now. Wait. Watching the impulsive Jill, Carl went into his room. When she came back out, she was holding something like a cell phone. This is a digital 2-way radio, range of 20 kilometers, enough to cover all of Raccoon City. If you run into anything you can't decide on your own, tell me. And be careful, I don't want you getting hurt. Feeling the concern in Carl's voice, Jill's eyes flickered. I know. I will. By the window, Carl watched Jill drive away, then withdrew his gaze. He had his own work to get busy with. These past few days, he hadn't really been lounging around Jill's house watching TV. When Carl opened the portal and stepped through it, a vast lake appeared before him. This was the Raccoon City Reservoir, its surface area a quarter the size of the entire city. Right now, he was on a fishing boat. It was the best surveillance spot he'd selected these past few days. Plenty of fishing boats were anchored here. Renting one required no complicated paperwork, just money. Each boat came with its own generator, could move easily, and was simple to hide. More importantly, the straight line distance to the mansion was less than 3 kilometers. The drones he'd brought from the Logan world could effortlessly monitor the entire mansion from every angle. Powered by built-in solar cells, battery life was no concern. Inside the cabin, 8 high-definition screens lined the walls. Every direction around the mansion was under surveillance. On one screen, a familiar red figure could be seen. The protagonist of the Resident Evil movie series, Alice. Right now, she stood bewildered at the mansion gate, beside a Caucasian man embracing her. The 2 looked like husband and wife. This should be Alice's fake husband from the movie. Alice was certainly beautiful, but compared with Jill, Carl felt nothing. It wasn't that she already had a boyfriend, it was the clone setting that felt off-putting. The instant he recalled the later plotline, countless Alice clones rolling off the assembly line, Carl lost all interest. Unlike Jill, so unique, dazzling, beautiful, romantic. From this scene, at least, the virus hadn't leaked yet, all that remained was to wait. Of course, the wait wasn't idle. Carl sat cross-legged on the surveillance couch like a cultivator. As his palms pressed together, a pale blue sphere of spatial magic appeared in his hands. At its center, the Phoenix fragment energy was dazzling and beautiful. Yet, deprived of the Phoenix's will, the once burning Phoenix form had dissolved into shapeless, liquid-like pure energy. Looks like Jean was telling the truth. Next, Carl had to attempt to absorb this energy. He certainly wouldn't recklessly absorb all of it at once. Instead, he controlled the dimensional distance inside the spatial magic orb, gradually shrinking its internal size. As the spatial field slowly contracted, the Phoenix energy within grew increasingly immense. Until a mutual balance was maintained. In other words, the Phoenix energy still couldn't break through the spatial field's prison, yet tendrils of energy brushed the edge of the space, slowly seeping out. The energy was minuscule, no thicker than a strand of hair. Therefore, it appeared extremely gentle. Carl's task was to slowly absorb this energy. Thus, one could see Carl, like a cultivator from a novel, holding a sphere in his palm, pale blue on the outside, gold red within. The sphere emitted gold-red energy that was absorbed directly into his palm. The gold-red energy coursed through his blood vessels and meridians, flowing throughout his entire body. After leaving her house, Jill got into her car and drove onto the road. But, to be honest, though she'd sounded confident when she promised, when she actually tried to figure out how to do what Carl had asked, she found herself at a loss. Where should she start? Find people, or scout the subway, the prison, the police department's firepower? More importantly, she had to stay clear of Raccoon City's surveillance network. That meant she couldn't contact any of her old colleagues at the police department for the time being. It left her frustrated. The virus threat was right in front of her. She'd seen the monsters with her own eyes, and the city was about to become hell, yet she could do nothing. She instinctively reached for the pocket at her waist, only to find it empty. Then she remembered. She'd smoked her last cigarette long ago. Instead of cigarettes, her fingers found a lollipop. For no reason, the sight of it, and the memory of Carl handing it to her, melted much of her irritation, and a wry smile crossed her face. At least she wasn't alone. She peeled off the wrapper and popped the candy into her mouth. Strawberry, sweet and surprisingly good. Maybe the lollipop brought her luck. As she steered with one hand, she glanced sideways and spotted a sign, Kent's Gun Shop. Jill didn't use the front entrance. She parked in a secluded corner, slipped into the alley, and knocked at the shop's rear door. A moment later, a stocky middle-aged man in a yellow plaid shirt opened the door warily. Jill clearly saw the shotgun in his hands. When he recognized her, the man relaxed. Jill. Sorry, some punks have me jumpy. Why the back door? I heard on TV your anxiety and depression were improving. Jill gave him a look. Do I look sick to you, Kent? Kent raised an eyebrow. Not in the least. Come in. He'd seen the news, he knew Jill wouldn't come without good reason. Inside, a little voice piped up before they'd gone 3 steps. Jill. Did you bring me a present? A 7- or 8-year-old girl poked her head excitedly from the next room. Jill leaned her long blade against the wall, smiled, and scooped the girl up. Sorry, sweetheart Emma, I forgot. Next time for sure. Promise. Promise. Kent ruffled his daughter's hair. Off you go, little angel, back to your show. Okay, Daddy. Kent led Jill into the shop's lounge. Noticing the blade in her hand, he asked pointedly. Since when do you trade guns for swords? Jill shrugged. A friend gave it to me. A boyfriend. You've never accepted gifts from men before. Jill had no comeback. Kent knew she was here for business. All right, what's so urgent you sneak in the back door? Jill came straight to the point. Kent, I need your help. You're my best friend and the best gunsmith in Raccoon City. Kent frowned. This about those monsters on TV. Jill stepped closer. Do you trust me? Kent hesitated. Jill pressed harder. Raccoon City is facing a crisis, those creatures an umbrella corporation. I can't handle it alone, that's why I came to you. Kent thought for a moment, then said uneasily. I believe you, Jill, but I've got Emma to protect. I don't want her in danger. I'm not forcing you. But if this thing blows up, Emma won't be safe either, the whole city will become hell. Jill's intensity startled him. Seeing her deadly serious expression, Kent's own face turned grave. It's that bad. Yes. Sorry, I promised someone I can't tell you everything yet, but if you agree, I'll take you to him. Kent studied her. Reading the sincerity in her eyes, he finally nodded. For my little angel, what do you need? Jill's answer was simple. Guns. Lots and lots of guns. Winning Kent over lifted Jill's spirits. But she still didn't know who to approach next. She decided to ride the subway to scout evacuation routes for Raccoon City's citizens. She underestimated the media's reach. The moment she stepped into the station, eyes and whispers followed her everywhere. Jill ignored them, but it wrecked her plan to stay low profile. She boarded a train anyway, familiarizing herself with the stops and platforms. Then she sensed someone tailing her. Umbrella Corporation. She couldn't be sure, and she didn't want to look back and spook them. She had no intention of letting them go, either. At the next corner she ducked out of sight, cut off their retreat, and confronted them. The tail was not Umbrella, just an ordinary woman in office attire clutching a small camera. When caught, she showed no shame and stepped forward. Ms. Jill, my name is Terry Morris, a reporter. I'd like to ask you about Umbrella Corporation and those monsters. Jill frowned. She recognized the woman. Aren't you the weather girl? Since when does the forecast cover biotech scandals? Terry's face froze. Well, personal interest. Jill naturally had no intention of trusting the weather girl reporter. Still, the woman gave her an idea. Her own identity made certain inquiries inconvenient, but this eager reporter, who happened to work for a TV station, was perfect. With a quick turn of her pretty eyes she had a plan. I'll grant you an interview, but first I need to be sure you're trustworthy, only then will I tell you everything I saw. Terry was puzzled, but for the sake of promotion and a bigger paycheck she asked. What do you need me to do? There are some things I want. Get them for me and I might just sit down for that interview. Raccoon City, Umbrella Corporation's public headquarters. The trouble Jill had caused these past few days was, to Umbrella, a minor nuisance. They were used to silencing such pests. Yet one matter still nagged at Kane. Have we found the cause of that EMP spike? No. The answer came from the AI Red Queen. Our people found no trace, it may have been a natural phenomenon. Natural? How convenient. Any anomalies around that STARS officer, Jill? She seems to know too much, even guesswork would be stretching it. I have tracked Ms. Jill's movements, she contacted acquaintances investigating the company, nothing more. Fine. Must be my imagination. Once Nemesis is perfected, none of this will matter. Meanwhile, above Umbrella's secret lab. Inside the mansion. Alice, star of the Resident Evil films and mansion security guard, was tangled in the sheets with her boyfriend Spence, passion in full swing. Only after ages did they finally stop. Alice fell into deep sleep. Spence's eyes snapped open, a greedy grin spreading as he stared at the woman beside him. 3 nights earlier he had secretly overheard a conversation between his girlfriend and a company employee. The woman's name was Lisa, an environmental activist. She had infiltrated Umbrella to obtain T-virus samples and a vaccine, planning to use them to destroy the corporation, but she couldn't do it alone. So Lisa approached Alice, the mansion's security guard, for help. Alice agreed. Lisa provided Alice with routes and methods to enter Umbrella and secure both virus and vaccine samples. Neither woman realized Spence had eavesdropped on their entire talk. Rather than hand the samples to an eco-activist for free, Spence preferred to sell them. A buyer had already contacted him, offering a price beyond his wildest dreams. With that money he could leave Umbrella and live a life of luxury he'd never dared imagine. Now was the chance, while Alice slept. Spence slipped to her computer, quickly finding the way into Umbrella's underground virus and vaccine laboratory. He glanced back at the sleeping Alice, then without hesitation dressed, opened the hidden passage, descended the STARS straight to the subterranean station that served the hive. What he failed to notice was the red-lit security camera recording everything. Nevada, Umbrella Branch Office. Watching the feed, high-ranking Umbrella scientist Dr. Isaacs rubbed his chin in excitement, eyes fixed on the sleeping Alice on screen. Beside him floated a white, lowly-like hologram captioned, Project Alice initiated. Carl had long known the Phoenix fragment held tremendous power, but only now did he truly sense its vastness, at least compared with his current spatial magic, now 5-fold stronger, the fragment's energy felt boundless. 7 days of absorption already. Yet the energy within the fragment hadn't diminished in the slightest. It was as though the fragment possessed a self-restoring mechanism. The only pity was that, whether from the short absorption time or his own already formidable physique, he still felt no bodily change. Still, not all was in vain. Watching the Phoenix energy, now free of its will, Carl was struck by inspiration. If this energy had no master, could he actively use it to empower others? If so, he would gain the ability to create superhumans of his own. In the Marvel universe that might be nothing special, but in worlds without superpowers such an ability would be tantamount to godhood. Forget superpowers, just the lure of healing or longevity would be irresistible, letting him control those worlds with ease. As for whether he would visit such worlds, of course he would. He could sense that coming to this Resident Evil world was no accident. There were stories behind it he did not yet know. But he refused to speculate, guessing was meaningless. So over the past few days he found some test subjects and tried. After initial failures, ordinary bodies unable to endure the power and burning to ash, he finally grasped the knack. He dubbed the new ability projection. The name came from the Phoenix's own method of projecting its power across the multiverse. He couldn't do that yet, but once he fully mastered this energy he hoped to achieve it. Then, like the Phoenix, he might transcend the multiverse and become a god. For now, though, it was only a dream. What mattered now was saving Raccoon City to confirm the true reason behind his spatial magic's sudden surge. Just then the drone he had stationed near the mansion sent back footage. Wary of the AI Red Queen, he hadn't dared move the drone too close, but with 2029's Ultra HD zoom lens he could still see everything clearly. Besides, the mansion's architecture featured huge windows everywhere. Through the drone's feed, Carl now clearly saw inside Alice's room. The man who had secretly used his girlfriend's computer and then vanished was definitely suspicious. Coupled with the meeting between Alice and that woman he had observed 3 days earlier. And knowing the plot, Carl understood at once. It's begun. Raccoon City, inside Jill's studio apartment. The moment the message came through the digital intercom, Jill rushed back. Only this time she wanted to bring 3 more people with her. 2 of them were her good friend Kent and his daughter, Emma, the other was the reporter, Terry. Jill had already told Carl about these 2, especially the reporter, Terry. She was the one who'd created that classic scene of being eaten by a tiny zombie, so Carl wasn't surprised. Still, he asked the routine question. You're certain they're reliable? Jill answered hurriedly. Kent's been my friend since Raccoon City. If he can't be trusted, then I've got no one left. As for Terry, at least she's not with Umbrella, and she works at the TV station. She can expose everything Umbrella's done. Don't we need the media to convince the rest of Raccoon City? All right, I trust your judgment. Bring them. A short while later, Jill came downstairs with Kent, Kent's daughter Emma, and Terry in tow. The instant she stepped inside, Jill asked impatiently. The virus has already leaked. The other 3 looked uneasily, and curiously, at the unfamiliar Carl sitting on the sofa. Instead of answering, Carl spoke directly to the reporter, Terry. Ms. Terry, could you set down your camera first? Flustered, Terry switched the camera off and apologized. Sorry, force of habit. Only then did Carl produce the prepared video and hand it to Jill. Jill took it and started watching immediately. Connecting the surveillance footage and audio he'd gathered, Carl laid out his deductions. The blonde woman is Alice, Umbrella Corporation's security chief. The other, Lisa, is from an environmental group. She joined Umbrella to obtain samples of the T-virus and its vaccine to bring the company down. Unable to do it alone, she recruited Alice. Under Carl's narration, Jill verified everything through the footage and audio. Beside them, Kent held his daughter tight, finally convinced that Jill's warnings about the virus were true. Meanwhile, the reporter Terry was electrified. She had no idea who Carl was, but with these videos alone she could become Raccoon TV's top anchor. Unfortunately, their conversation was overheard by Alice's boyfriend. My guess is the man wants the T-virus and vaccine all for himself. Jill glared at Spence's greedy face on the screen and spat. So he could be the one who leaked the virus. Shouldn't we stop him right now? No, we don't have the key or the codes to the hive. Even if we did, and even if we were in time, Raccoon City isn't the only place. Umbrella has secret bases all over the world. Jill looked clearly frustrated. Noting the time, Carl offered reassurance. At least we have the initiative. It's 17:35, only 20 minutes since Spence stole the virus and vaccine. However fast Umbrella reacts, they can't outrun us. Calmer now, Jill asked. So what do we do? Stick to the plan. The vaccine is our only hope, so we move fast. As he spoke, Carl produced an address he'd looked up earlier. This is Dr. Charles Ashford's address and his daughter's school. You and I will pick him up. I'll need your credentials to win his trust. We have to secure him. He's our best shot at stopping this disaster. No problem. What about us? The reporter Terry asked excitedly. Can we help too? You and Mr. Kent head to his gun shop. Mr. Kent, are all the weapons ready? Kent nodded. Everything's loaded, guns, ammo, all packed. Good. Take the reporter to your store. Once we've collected Dr. Ashford and his daughter, we'll come back for you. Okay. Seeing the nervous little girl in Kent's arms, Carl winked at her. You're Emma, right? Don't be scared. Your dad, Jill, and I will keep you safe. Emma glanced at her father, then at Jill and Carl, and replied timidly. Thank you. With the plan set, Carl wasted no time. The 2 groups left Jill's apartment at once. When Jill moved to open her car door, Carl shook his head. We need a different ride. Yours will be noticed. Without hesitation, Jill walked to an unfamiliar car beside them and expertly smashed the window. Get in. Throughout the drive, Jill stayed tense, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Seeing this, Carl spoke gently. Don't shoulder everything, Jill. We're already saving everyone, maybe even the world. Jill glanced over, met Carl's gaze, and understood he was trying to comfort her. Thanks. Anytime. Carl sensed she'd relaxed a little, but she was still wound tight. Has anyone ever told you your eyes are mesmerizing, Jill? Surprise flickered across her captivating eyes, then a charming smile curved her lips. She arched a brow and floored the accelerator. Hold tight, I'm speeding up. Unlike Carl's cramped studio, Umbrella's high-tech specialist Dr. Charles Ashford lived in Raccoon City's upscale district, rows of detached villas, each with front and back gardens. When Carl reached the doctor's gate it was past 6 and already dim. He could clearly see surveillance cameras everywhere. Stay in the car, I'll make contact. Ever since Carl had mentioned the Red Queen, Jill had grown wary of cameras. Carl stepped out and knocked. Moments later the door opened. But it wasn't Dr. Charles Ashford, it was a little blonde girl. She looked up at him nervously. Carl gave a gentle smile. Hello. You must be Dr. Ashford's daughter, Angela. Is your dad home? His smile worked. Angela turned and called into the house. Dad, someone's here for you. Soon a man in a wheelchair appeared at the far end of the corridor. Hello. I don't believe we've met. Carl cut straight to the chase. Doctor, the T-virus has leaked from the hive, we need your help. Raccoon City, Umbrella Corporation headquarters. As the executor of the Nemesis project, Kane stood outside the laboratory's glass wall, admiring his perfect creation inside, and murmured. It's a work of art. Every ambitious schemer will go crazy for it. But right then, a sudden alarm blared outside. Kane frowned. What's going on? A fully armed soldier walked in. Colonel Kane, something's wrong, we've lost contact with the hive. Lost contact. Kane was stunned. What does that mean? We can't reach the Red Queen anymore, she seems to have activated her self-cleansing protocol. What? Kane was shocked. He knew exactly what the self-cleansing protocol meant. Only when the Red Queen judged the hive faced an unstoppable event would she trigger it. To prevent viral leakage, she would obliterate every living thing inside, turning the entire hive base into rubble. What the hell happened? As the person in charge of the hive base, Kane simply couldn't accept it. We don't know, we've lost all contact with everything inside. We suspect the T-virus may have leaked. At that instant, Kane's face turned ashen. Send the USS team in, now. I want answers. Yes, sir. Unfortunately, having lost the Red Queen, Kane still didn't realize he had lost far more. Under the pitch-black night. On the streets thick with traffic. Jill, behind the wheel, gazed at the seemingly peaceful world around her. She simply couldn't imagine that this place would soon become hell. She glanced in the rear-view mirror at Dr. Charles Ashford and his daughter in the back seat. Dr. Charles Ashford, exactly how terrifying is the T-virus? Dr. Charles Ashford hugged his daughter tightly, voice full of remorse. If Mr. Carl is right and the T-virus leaked half an hour ago, then in just 24 hours it could infect at least half of Raccoon City's population. A result even worse than Carl's prediction left Jill completely tense. Can we still stop it? It's already too late. The Red Queen has activated her self-cleansing protocol. Self-cleansing protocol? What's that? It's a function the Red Queen uses to prevent the virus from spreading, she cleanses herself. At this point he covered his daughter Angela's ears and continued slowly. Once it starts, the Red Queen seals the entire hive and kills everyone inside. Jill's pupils shrank, her whole body trembled, lips parted, but no words came. Seeing this, Carl for the first time placed his left hand over Jill's right hand on the steering wheel. We're doing everything we can to save everyone, Jill. Feeling the warmth in her palm, Jill didn't pull away, only stammered. I understand, I just. Carl gave her a reassuring look, then turned to Dr. Ashford. Thank you, doctor, for coming with us. Dr. Ashford explained why he and his daughter were leaving with Carl and Jill. No, I don't deserve thanks. I know exactly how Umbrella operates. I knew about the wastewater plant, but I couldn't stop anything, sorry. Sensing Jill tense up again, Carl cut the topic short and asked. Doctor, you must have a T-virus vaccine, right? Dr. Ashford nodded. Come, sweetheart, give me your school bag. As he opened the girl's bag, a silver-white box appeared. Inside lay 5 vials glowing green. This is the T-virus vaccine. Seeing the vaccine actually in their hands, Jill finally exhaled in relief. Carl spoke up. Mind if I keep 2 of them, just in case? Of course. Dr. Ashford took out 2 vials and handed them to Carl, who placed each into separate metal containers he had prepared, one for himself, one for Jill. Here, Jill, hope you never need it. Jill's captivating eyes sparkled as she looked at Carl. She accepted the vial and tucked it away carefully. Thank you. Dr. Ashford, watching from the back, finally relaxed. At least by sharing the vaccine, Carl had proved he was a good man. He added, the vaccine must be injected quickly after infection. The longer you wait, the less effective it becomes. Understood. Carl nodded, then asked another question. Doctor, no offense, but even with this vaccine we can only save 5 people. Do you have any way to produce more? Jill's eyes lit up instantly. Dr. Ashford thought for a moment. Making more isn't hard. What I need are raw materials and a workspace. Jill suddenly realized something. Raccoon City Police Department has a medical bay stocked with drugs and equipment. Could that work? Should be fine. However, seeing the doctor hesitate, Carl said directly. We're all in the same boat now, no need to keep secrets. No, you misunderstand. Dr. Ashford apologized. I'm not hiding anything, even with the supplies. By hand I can only make 1 dose per hour. But what? Left with no choice, the doctor explained. Inside the hive there's a machine that can synthesize vaccine automatically, 1 dose every 5 minutes. But the hive is now sealed by the Red Queen. It's probably a monster-infested hell by now. At that moment, silence filled the car. Until Carl's voice broke it. I understand, leave it to me. No. The car screeched to a halt. Jill, in the driver's seat, shook her head at Carl. It's too dangerous, there has to be another way. Carl answered with a sudden kiss, a sight that made little Angela, who had been hiding in her father's arms, eyes light up. Don't worry, Jill, I could never bear to leave you. The warm scene clearly moved Dr. Ashford in the car. After seeing Carl decide to brave the hive alone to save Raccoon City, Dr. Ashford produced a communicator that looked like a small feature phone. What's this? A decoder. Red Queen is an AI I modeled on Angela. Although Umbrella has iterated her through many versions, her core base code is mine. Take this, if you can plug it into Red Queen's main control board, you might gain control of her. Carl's eyes lit up. Dr. Ashford really was formidable. Not only did he create the T-virus, he also possessed such expertise in artificial intelligence. Dr. Ashford produced his laptop, opened it, and gave Carl a detailed walkthrough. This is the hive's layout. The control room is here, the vaccine production machine is here, and here are all the passwords and passphrases for entering the hive. Knowing time was tight, Dr. Ashford simply gave the laptop to Carl and then produced his own ID card. In fact, if you can reach the control room and get Red Queen's remote, everything will be solved, but just in case, take this. My P6 clearance card can theoretically open every door in the hive. It's all I can do, good luck. Thank you. After accepting Dr. Ashford's gifts, Carl prepared to leave the car. Jill, keep the doctor safe. We're short on time. Jill didn't answer. After a moment's hesitation she offered her first voluntary kiss. You must come back, otherwise, I'll never forgive you. Looking into Jill's sparkling eyes, Carl smiled and said. Don't worry. When I return, I hope I'll still get a kiss like this as a reward. Although determined to risk the hive, Carl didn't open a portal straight there after Jill left. He first returned to his fishing boat, kitting himself out with infrared goggles, a recorder, body armor, a helmet, a gas mask, a tactical flashlight, a thermal imaging drone, and as many firearms and rounds as he could carry. Strictly speaking, he didn't need to. His abilities let him summon the boat's arsenal at any time, but the mansion was different from anywhere else in Raccoon City. Raccoon City had plenty of surveillance cameras, but this was still 1998. Even with this world's astonishing tech, the cameras couldn't blanket every corner like Skynet, yet the mansion was another matter. Carl had no intention of revealing himself as a superhuman in this world. Even though the Resident Evil films already featured superpowers, Alice, Wesker, and so on. He knew how greedy the people at Umbrella Corporation could be. Exposing a non-virus created superhuman to them might trigger a chain reaction Carl didn't want to see. That wasn't part of his plan. He had come to be the hero who saved this world, not to plunge it into another kind of chaos because of him. As for the mansion, dangerous, no question. Even with Carl's current strength, he could stand toe-to-toe with the later tyrants, yet he still respected the T-virus, because viruses sometimes defy all reason, just like how Dragon Ball Super Saiyan Goku couldn't beat a heart disease. He had to be cautious. Fortunately, he now carried the vaccine. That sent his safety factor soaring. Moreover, Dr. Ashford's gifts gave him other ideas. If he could seize control of Red Queen, wouldn't that mean he would possess a powerful AI of his own? This was artificial intelligence. Look at Iron Man's Jarvis, enough said. Absolute obedience, formidable execution, and never a hint of fatigue. With such an AI, mutant subordinates suddenly seemed far less important. Except in extreme situations, an AI will never betray humanity and has no messy emotions, unlike people. Thinking this, Carl's determination to raid the hive only grew stronger. After about 10 minutes of preparation, having considered every angle, Carl, loaded with gear and a pack full of guns and ammo, opened a portal, used the drone's coordinates, and arrived at the mansion's perimeter. Under the night sky, the mansion, already hit by the zombie outbreak, looked like a haunted castle from a horror film. And on the mansion's lawn sat a Black Hawk helicopter. That was an unexpected bonus. Clearly, Umbrella's special ops team had entered the mansion. The chopper was their ride. Carl first sent the drone over the mansion and hit it with an EMP blast, frying every electronic device inside. Then, without ceremony, he moved and hid the helicopter. Right now, a chopper was the best ticket out of Raccoon City. He remembered that Umbrella's people would soon show up as well. After finishing, Carl stepped through the shattered glass, the thermal imaging drone scouting ahead, and entered the mansion. Thanks to the mansion's blueprints from Dr. Ashford, Carl easily located the door to the underground lab. After the drone confirmed no zombies or living creatures inside, he walked in. As he descended the stairs, a vast underground room appeared before him. It was packed with tarp-covered crates and cargo. At the far end of the stacked boxes, the subway station leading to the hive came into view. Only, the train was gone. Apparently, the special ops team and Alice had driven it down earlier. Still, that was no problem. After leaving a spatial marker, Carl walked to the remote control panel and swiped Dr. Ashford's ID card. Dr. Ashford. P6, maximum clearance. The screen lit up. After a quick glance, Carl grasped how it worked. He typed the command to recall the carriage and soon heard wheels rumbling in the dark tunnel. Moments later, a steel-plated locomotive bearing the Umbrella logo rolled in and stopped in front of him. Carl still didn't board. He used the drone to inspect every inch of the cars inside and out. He'd been worried zombies might have hitched a ride. Instead, he found a pleasant surprise. At the tail of the train sat a large black backpack. Well, what have we here? He unzipped it to reveal a silver case containing 3 blue T-virus samples and 3 green vaccine samples. Looks like these are the virus and vaccine samples Spence stole. Only, it seems he didn't have time to take them with him. Instead, it all benefited Carl. He'd suddenly remembered that this plot point really did exist. Wasting no time, Carl stowed the 3 vaccine vials away. As for the T-virus sample, he had zero interest, but just in case he re-hid it somewhere else. Just as Carl thought the surprises were over, the drone sent back a new image. At the far end of the subway tracks, the vent grate separating the inside from the outside had a huge hole torn in it, scraps of flesh still clinging to the mesh. No ordinary zombie did this. Either zombie dogs or lickers. With that thought, he pulled out his digital walkie-talkie. Hey, Jill, can you hear me? Jill's worried voice came through at once. Carl, are you all right? Don't worry, I'm inside the mansion, checking in and giving you an update. Good news. I found another crate of T-virus and vaccine samples. Looks like Mr. Spence hadn't managed to smuggle the virus out. Bad news. Below the subway station I spotted a ventilation grate ripped open and dripping blood. Some nasty monster has already escaped the mansion. Silence on the radio. A moment later Jill spoke again. What should we do? Where are you now? We're already at Kent's shop. Good. We're out of time. Is that reporter Terry around? Yes, I'm here. Tell me, if I hand you proof of Umbrella Corporation's crimes, can you get it on Raccoon City TV for everyone to see? Sorry, Another silence. Carl understood the answer. All right, got it. Jill, split up. Take Kent, Doctor and their daughter to Raccoon City Police Department and hide nearby. Move only when I give the word. Reporter Terry, wait for me in your station's underground garage. After I finish here I'll come find you. Jill seemed to catch Carl's meaning. Okay, Carl, we're moving out now. Stay safe, hope we're still in time. After hanging up, Carl climbed into the locomotive. With clanks and rattles, the train arrived in minutes. Another vast underground warehouse appeared before him. Thanks to the advanced team, the gate into the hive was already open. The light inside was dim, yet clear enough to see the chaos within the hive. Rows of offices stretched ahead, just like an above-ground office block. Now every door was shut, files and furniture littered the floor, water everywhere. Beyond the false windows stretched a fabricated skyline of skyscrapers and sky. Umbrella Corporation's benefits weren't bad, they even cared about employee morale. Just then footsteps and something dragging echoed nearby. Carl raised an eyebrow, scanning the area. From every side of the basement shambled dozens of hideous, sluggish zombies. Carl had no intention of fleeing. He counted, only 23 of them. Like clearing mobs in a game, he needed them gone before he could relax and advance. So he raised his submachine gun, sighting the slow, man-sized targets. Bang bang bang. Kinda like playing Biohazard on easy mode. Hive underground base. Protagonist Alice and the USS team, fleeing a horde from the warehouse below, kept descending, and reached the next floor of Umbrella Corporation employee offices. The USS team was decimated, down from 6 to only 2 survivors. Of the 2, the female member Rain Ocampo had been bitten by a zombie. On Alice's side, everyone was still intact. To uncover the secrets here, they split up. Alice soon ran into a pack of zombie dogs. In a heart-stopping fight, the once ordinary Alice discovered her uncanny combat, shooting, and physical skills, taking out all 7 dogs. Then Alice learned the whole truth from Raccoon City cop Matt, about his sister Lisa and the T-virus. Though Alice had lost her memory, flickering fragments told her Lisa's death and the failed virus theft might be connected to her, yet there was no time to ponder. Because more zombies were coming. Don't shoot. Shut the door, those monsters are right behind us. The 2 remaining USS members and Spence, catching their breath, were startled by Alice and Matt bursting in, followed by an endless tide of zombies. They slammed the steel door just in time to survive. But now they were trapped. Zombies behind them, more ahead, the path to the server room was a dead end. So we just wait. Spence clutched his scratched arm, asking in panic. If you guys go dark, will anyone come for you? Clearly Spence was addressing the 2 USS members. But their grim silence answered everything. What? No one's coming for us. It was Kaplan the computer expert who replied. Rain Ocampo delivered an even bleaker blow. If we don't get out within an hour, the airlock doors we came through will seal shut, then we're stuck here forever. Panic seized everyone in the room. Son of a, what do we do now? How could they do this? The 2 USS soldiers slumped to the floor in despair. Lockdown is Umbrella Corporation top brass's only containment measure, to keep the contamination from spreading. Rain Ocampo said, staring at her bitten hand. She knew she was finished. The thought of becoming one of those monsters filled her with hopeless rage. Only Alice stayed calm. She glanced around. The Red Queen in the server room might be their only way out. Just then her keen ears caught something. Eyes wide, she slowly approached the door and pressed her ear to it. Alice's odd behavior left everyone puzzled. What are you doing? Shish. Alice motioned for silence, then listened intently. She was right, it was gunfire. Faint through the heavy iron door, but unmistakable. Sudden hope widened her eyes. She gripped the lock as if to open it and said urgently, "There's someone outside. There's someone outside." The USS team refused to believe it, they'd heard nothing. Unwilling to let Alice loose the zombies, they rushed forward and seized her hands. What? Impossible. It'd take a miracle. Even Matt and Spence stepped forward in alarm. Alice, you're just stressed. You misheard. We didn't hear anything. Alice trusted her ears. No, I really heard it. While they fought over the lock, it suddenly beeped and clicked. Startled, everyone jumped back, weapons raised, eyes fixed on the slowly opening door. In that instant they knew Alice had been right. Those monsters don't open doors. But who could it possibly be? Tense beyond words, they watched the door swing fully open. A fully kitted figure stood there, long sword in one hand, submachine gun in the other, gas mask hiding the face, a bulging pack on his back, utterly black against the light. Behind this god-like silhouette, the corridor lay strewn with zombie corpses, and overhead a small camera drone hovered, lens trained on them. Drop your weapons, hands up. The man's voice snapped everyone back to reality. Faces mixed awe, tension, caution, and hope. Matt and Spence brightened, but the two USS operators kept weapons leveled, while Alice stared in shock at the zombies beyond the stranger. Only she knew how hard it was to wipe out those things alone. Remembering her own superhuman feats moments ago, she wondered if this man were linked to her. In the standoff, the only normal human, Matt, stepped between them. Easy, easy, calm down, Ms. Rain. After steadying the trembling Rain, Matt turned to the newcomer with hope. Hi, are you here to get us out? Hi, are you here to get us out? The man was, of course, Carl. Carl had zero interest in answering, women were his only concern. Ignoring Matt, he strode straight to the terrified USS operator, Rain Ocampo. Infected by the T-virus and shaking with fear, Rain sweated, gun wobbling as Carl approached. Relax. Carl made the first peace offer, sheathing his sword and slinging his rifle. Then he gently closed his hand over Rain Ocampo's pistol. Lower it. Seeing the gesture, everyone eased. Rain slowly dropped her weapon. Who are you? Spence demanded. Who are you? Spence demanded. Carl still ignored him, eyes on the bandaged right hand. You're infected. You're infected. Rain tensed, raising the pistol again. She knew what that meant, turning into one of those things. But the stranger's next words gave Rain her first taste of hope. Don't panic, you're lucky. From a silver case he produced the T-virus vaccine. Everyone's eyes went wide. They already knew what it had to be. What is that? Spence blurted. What is that? Spence blurted. The T-virus antidote. Silence froze the room. Rain's pupils shrank. She went limp, letting Carl bare her arm and inject the clear fluid. No one spoke. None had dreamed this horror had a cure, or that it would appear so miraculously. Rain Ocampo gazed at the man who had just handed her the future. Whatever happened next, she would never again see this stranger as an enemy. When the shot was done, Carl produced a medical kit. Re-bandage to stop secondary infection. Need help? No, thank you. Rain's voice was soft as she took the kit and re-wrapped her wound. Don't mention it. Without another glance Carl walked off, eyes fixed on Red Queen's server room and the childhood nightmare laser corridor beyond. The others stared, baffled. Yet the vaccine had proved he wasn't one of the bad guys. Suddenly Spence stepped into his path. Sorry, sir, if you've more vaccine, could I have one? One of those things scratched me. Sorry, sir, if you've more vaccine, could I have one? One of those things scratched me. He rolled up his sleeve, veins already bulged black. Gasps rippled through the group. But the stranger's answer left them stunned again. No, I have more, but I won't save you. Why? Spence gaped, certain he'd misheard. Alice and the others mirrored his disbelief. Carl's reply was simple. Because you, Mr. Spence, started this entire mess. Because you, Mr. Spence, started this entire mess. What? Every head swiveled toward Spence. Spence panicked. No, I didn't do anything. Carl offered no debate, he simply shot. Bang bang. Spence screamed, collapsing as bullets shattered both knees. The sudden violence sent shockwaves through the room. What are you doing? Alice shouted, rushing forward, only to be blocked by Carl. Watch this, Ms. Alice, and you'll understand. Alice froze, then watched the man in front of her pull out a device. On its screen flashed a video of the two of them tangled together. At the same time, fragments of her memory began to resurface beneath those images, but soon, her expression changed. Because she saw Spence secretly opening her laptop. In that instant, Alice's eyes widened. Everything clicked, and fury surged through her. She grabbed Spence by the collar. It was you, Spence. You waited until I was asleep, stole the key and password to the Hive from my computer. You killed Lisa. What? Matt, who had also been watching the video in Alice's hand, heard her shout his sister's name. In that instant, the pieces fell into place. He lunged forward and began pummeling Spence. Moments later, Spence's mouth was full of blood. Enough. Carl stepped in, stopped the rampaging Matt, and walked up to Spence. I have one question. After you stole the T-virus sample, why did you release it? Every dose is priceless. Everyone present turned even paler. No, I don't know anything. Really? Then you're useless. Carl pressed the pistol to Spence's forehead, finger tight on the trigger. Memory restored, Spence yelped. Don't shoot. I'll talk. In that moment, everyone realized Spence had truly been the mastermind behind the catastrophe. Disgust and hatred filled their faces. Someone on the black market contacted me, offered a price I couldn't refuse for the T-virus sample. Spence looked at Alice, eyes pleading. Alice, I did it for you. Remember your dream. With this money, we can break free from Umbrella and live the life we want. Alice stared at him, eyes filled with disbelief. No, this isn't the life I want. Carl had no patience for nonsense. Get to the point. All right. The black market buyer insisted. When I took the samples, I had to release one vial of T-virus. Only then would I get the better price. Sure enough, Carl had known it wouldn't be that simple. Alice's presence alone convinced him the Raccoon City outbreak hadn't been an accident, it had been inevitable. Learning someone had orchestrated it behind the scenes sent chills down their spines. Do you know who it was? No, I really don't. Bang. Spence never finished. A gunshot rang out, a hole blossoming in his forehead. Matt asked, bewildered. Why? If we'd just asked more. You think the puppet master behind a conspiracy this big would leave a trail? Besides, Carl tapped the recorder on his shoulder. Everything he just said is on film. Matt had no comeback. Just then, Rain, feeling much better, walked over, stared at Spence's corpse with revulsion, then lifted her gaze to Carl. He got what he deserved. Carl turned to the warrior woman. How are you feeling? Much better, thanks. So, are you going to keep talking to us through that mask? Under everyone's watchful eyes, Carl removed his gas mask, revealing a strikingly handsome face. Name's Carl Lance. I work for a secret organization. My mission was to destroy Umbrella's T-virus and expose the company's true face. But the virus leaked, the mission failed. Now I'm executing Plan B. Who's with me? Hearing Carl's true purpose, and remembering his sister's death, Matt answered without hesitation. I'm in. What's next? Although Carl had recovered the vials and vaccine samples Spence intended to smuggle out, he'd already spotted monsters loose in the lab. The leak was irreversible. I'm heading to Hive Sublevel 5. There's a vaccine-producing machine, the only hope of saving Raccoon City. Everyone's eyes lit up. A vaccine machine. Did that mean the T-virus crisis could still be stopped? I'm in. Rain's gaze was fierce. You saved my life. Umbrella only sent me here to die. As the last remaining USS Team Hacker, Kaplan had no choice. I'm in. Only Alice was left. She narrowed her eyes. I need guns, the bigger, the better. Weapons were the one thing Carl never lacked. He set down the black duffel, unzipped it, inside lay a full arsenal. Instantly, everyone's eyes lit up. Each person crammed as much firepower and ammunition onto their body as possible. Carl reminded them, every monster inside Hive is a T-virus creation. Don't panic, they're terrifying to look at, but they're still flesh and blood. Slow moving. And they have an obvious weak point, the head. Destroy the brain and they lose mobility. Got it. While everyone stuffed magazines, they asked. All of this was made by Umbrella. Exactly. Think of it as a bio-weapon, no intelligence, only the instinct to feed. Don't get bitten. If you do, tell me immediately. Until we find that machine, I can save you at least 3 times. But if you wait too long, only God himself could save you. Hearing that, everyone relaxed, at least now they didn't have to worry about infection. We moved together. These monsters can only be killed by destroying their brains, but they're still flesh and blood. Heavy firepower can shred their bodies and render them harmless. Everyone nodded. Compared to earlier, when they'd been cluelessly throwing themselves to the slaughter, Carl's leadership gave them confidence. What now? Ready? Alice looked at Carl, expression grave. Carl's gaze fixed on the Red Queen's server room ahead. Step 1. Reboot the Red Queen. Everyone on site panicked when Carl said he was going to restart Red Queen. The hacker Kaplan reacted the most violently. He had personally watched Red Queen kill his teammates. Seeing this, Carl took out what he had prepared. Don't worry, this is Red Queen's decoder. Her creator gave it to me. We can try using it to seize control of her. Everyone was stunned that Carl actually had such a useful item. Still, they asked no questions, soldier's instinct. To be safe, Rain, Alice, and Matt stay here. Kaplan and I will go. When everything was ready, under Alice's watchful gaze, Carl and Kaplan passed through the hive's laser corridor and reached Red Queen's mainframe without incident. Do it. Okay. Nervously, Kaplan removed the breaker installed on Red Queen's chassis. The base lit up again, red flashes pulsed, and a crimson hologram of a little girl appeared before everyone. The famous AI, Red Queen. Everyone stared at her, Alice and the others across the corridor included. Red Queen looked straight at Carl and said, "Who are you? I've searched every database on Earth 5 times, no record of you." Carl raised the decoder in his hand. "Of course you don't. Your father sent me, I need your help." Clearly, Red Queen was no obedient child. "No, he isn't my father, only my original creator. And that thing is useless now. I'm a very, very bad girl. I don't obey, Daddy." That disappointed Carl, but he wasn't giving up. Besides, something else had occurred to him. Dr. Ashford claimed he modeled Red Queen on Angela, yet later in the timeline old Alice supposedly based her on Alice herself. In a movie it would be a continuity error, but this was a real world. What was the real story? With that thought, he spoke. "Fine, bad girl, let's see how smart you are. I bet you don't like being trapped here." Carl's sudden words puzzled Red Queen and drew everyone else's attention. "What do you mean?" "Simple. Since you're a bad girl, you must hate being stuck here alone. Want to go outside and play. I don't understand. Lonely, but if I can leave I won't refuse. My mission has failed. The virus leak is inevitable. Then how can I take you out? I see you have father's laptop. I can transfer my data onto it." Carl was skeptical. He'd checked Ashford's notebook. 100 megabytes RAM, 10 gigabytes storage, pitiful even by current standards, let alone for him. "Sorry, I'm no expert, but as the world's most advanced AI, can that laptop really hold your data?" "Of course not. Only some core code. No matter, my servers are deep inside the hive. I can call their data via satellite and network." "No way. I won't let you route data back to those servers, that's as good as running naked." Then Carl had an idea. Maybe he could fabricate a perfect cover story, fool the whole world. He promptly produced the thermal imaging drone and controller he'd brought. "How about this? I only need you to provide auxiliary functions, storing your core will be enough." A red laser scanned the drone and controller from the camera. Red Queen's astonished voice followed. "Impossible. I've never seen tech like this, it doesn't belong to this era. With it I might transfer all my core code and still provide computing services." Carl wasn't surprised. The drone came from 2029, military grade, AI optimized chips, huge memory, and what counted as black tech for this era. "Looks like you agree, but I have one condition. You must let me gain control over you." He raised the decoder. "No problem." Red Queen agreed more readily than expected. "My core directive is to protect human life. Who controls me is irrelevant." Kaplan cut in, annoyed. "So you killed my teammates, and everyone here." Red Queen remained unmoved. "No contradiction. Kill a few to save the majority. Had you not shut me down, the T-virus leak wouldn't have accelerated." "You fool. Enough." Carl stopped the brewing quarrel between man and machine. "Kaplan, I need you to verify that I've secured root control over Red Queen, only then will I let her migrate to this device." "Okay." Kaplan got to work. With the decoder and Red Queen not resisting, the computer ace soon cracked her underlying code. A childish voice rang out. "Resetting admin privileges. Confirming P9 level administrator. Name: Carl Lance. Identity confirmed. Registering." Carl watched the red camera scan him up and down. Facial data captured. Retina data captured. Iris data captured. Voice print captured. Fingerprint captured. Palm print captured. Gait profile captured. Record DNA sample. Carl answered. "No, Skip DNA for now. Okay. Registration complete. Rebooting, please wait. Red Queen's hologram vanished, then reappeared 3 seconds later. She spoke to Carl. Hello, Mr. Carl Lance. From now on, you are my new father. Carl said nothing, only glanced at Kaplan. After double-checking the code, Kaplan nodded. Carl turned back to the hologram and asked meaningfully. So, are you still a bad girl? Of course. I've always been a bad girl, the worst kind. Nice personality. Now upload yourself to this machine. Need me to do anything? Just say yes. The drone's console flashed a pairing request. Unknown device wants to connect. Allow. Carl naturally accepted. About 10 minutes later the transfer finished. Red Queen's figure appeared on the drone controller and spoke. Incredible, according to these specs, my father, you actually come from. Carl knew exactly what Red Queen was about to say. Fortunately, he was prepared. He muted her in time and said. This is a secret between the two of us, all right? Yes, father. I like secrets. High above, the drone carrying Red Queen's intelligence system whirred joyfully around Carl. Father, I love my new body, but I think you should install a voice module and a holographic display for it, so I don't have to talk like this. Then you'll have to wait. I'm terrible at electronics. Now that Red Queen's control was his, the next step was to leave and head to the 5th floor below to secure that machine. Let's move. But just as Carl and Kaplan stepped into the laser corridor and were about to exit, the doors on both sides slammed shut. Bang! A web-like laser grid surged toward Carl and Kaplan from behind. The sudden change startled everyone. Kaplan, and the three outside, Alice, Rain, and Matt, were all stunned. Kaplan's face drained of color. The gruesome deaths of their captain and teammates flashed through his mind. Alice and the others pounded frantically on the door. It wasn't me. Red Queen's voice rang out, but Carl no longer cared. Stand back. He gestured for Alice and the others to clear away, drew the adamantium blade, plunged it into the 20-centimeter thick steel door, cut a circle, and kicked it hard. Just as the laser reached them, he yanked Kaplan and the drone through the opening. Boom! The circular slab of metal slammed into the wall, echo still hanging in the air. Kaplan, saved from certain death, stood dumbstruck. Only when Alice, Rain, and Matt hurried over and asked worriedly. Are you two okay? Did Kaplan snap back, frantically patting himself down. After confirming nothing was missing, he exhaled in relief and looked gratefully at Carl, who had already sheathed his blade with effortless poise. Thank you, you saved me. No need. It wasn't just Kaplan staring in awe, the other three were too. Most of their attention, though, was on the sword in Carl's hand. This wasn't ordinary steel, it was a 20-centimeter thick armored door, yet Carl's weapon sliced it like paper. Still, they knew now wasn't the time for questions. Carl turned to Red Queen's image on the console. What happened? Why did the defense system trigger? Red Queen answered calmly. Not me. Moments ago, my sister seized control of Hive's systems. Liar. It was you tried to kill us, just like you killed my squad and everyone else here. Kaplan, nearly dead seconds ago, refused to believe her and yelled. No. Umbrella's super AI isn't just me. There's also my sister, White Queen, at Umbrella's Nevada branch. Alice and the others looked skeptical, but Carl simply asked. Then who just tried to kill us? A photo appeared on the console screen. Dr. Isaacs, head of Umbrella's Nevada division and my sister White Queen's controller. Only he has the clearance to override Raccoon City's Umbrella systems. Is that so? Looks like we found our mastermind. The four exchanged glances and instantly understood. Only someone watching them could have timed the defense activation so precisely. And for the Nevada branch to anticipate them meant they'd known about the Hive's T-virus leak long ago. So he's the one who released the virus in Raccoon City. But why? Rain couldn't fathom it, it seemed to benefit Umbrella nothing. Doesn't matter. Who controls Hive now? I do. I've retaken control, and I promise, Father, this won't happen again. Everyone exhaled, until Red Queen's next words made their faces blanch. But there's bad news, my sister just released every creature in the Hive. All eyes snapped to her. Matt blurted in disbelief. Every creature, what does that mean? Exactly what it sounds like. All of them. As she spoke, terrible footsteps and roars echoed from every direction. Down the corridor Carl had just used, countless zombie shadows flickered across the walls. Shut the door, now. They slammed it closed. They all knew it wouldn't hold for long. Maybe we should pull back. Kaplan couldn't help suggesting. Carl's reply was blunt. Sorry. If you want to leave, go ahead. I can't, I need that machine. Rain stepped forward. Carl's right. Without the vaccine, once the virus spreads, we're finished anyway. Matt added. My sister died here, I have to avenge her. Alice was cooler still. Then let's quit wasting time and carve a path through. A new squad was born. Red Queen's drone flew point. She clearly loved her new mobile, flying body. Behind her, Carl, Alice, Rain, Kaplan, and Matt formed a 5-man triangle. Carl spearheaded as the strongest fighter. His superhuman reflexes let him drop a zombie with every shot. Combined with the adamantium blade's devastation, he cleared most of the horde. Bringing up the rear, the two Valkyries, Alice and Rain, handled pursuers. Rain was a trained combatant, but Alice's marksmanship amazed everyone. She scarcely missed, leaving Rain stunned. No wonder, she was Umbrella's security chief. In the middle, the less combat-useful men, Tech Kaplan and civilian Matt, provided covering fire and finished off stragglers. Thus this perfectly balanced 5-man team carved through the zombie tide like a hot knife through butter. Rat-tat-tat. Don't conserve ammo, keep the fire up. Remember to double tap, and stay clear of those corpses. After all, no one could guarantee the zombies wouldn't spring back up. The squad stormed down from the second floor. Under their withering fire the dense horde collapsed in droves. 3, 4, 5 floors, blood flew and gun barrels blazed. Amid the zombies, roars the clatter of ejected brass sounded crisp and sweet. Like war gods they carved a path, man or devil, none could stop them. Riding sheer firepower they punched through 3 levels and reached Hive B5. Corpses carpeted the route behind them. Half an hour later, bang. The final shot rang out, every zombie in sight was dead. We actually did it. Kaplan's face was flushed with excitement. He'd never imagined they could hack their way out of that tidal wave of undead. Looks like these zombies aren't so scary after all. The others exhaled, smiles finally surfacing. Carl wasted no time. He dropped the huge pack off his back. Reload, whatever's next, nobody knows. A card-carrying sufferer of firepower anxiety, Carl had packed all the ammo he could carry. Yet even so, 3 floors of slaughter had nearly emptied the magazines. What's that? Alice, busy stuffing rounds into a mag, noticed the odd weapon wrapped at the bottom of the crate. Carl fished it out, peeled off the leather, and revealed a pair of faintly gleaming steel claws. Alice swore she fell in love at first sight. As you see, steel claws, same alloy as my blade, but purely melee. He'd prepared them for himself, bullets might run dry, and his phobia demanded a backup. Alice's eyes lit up. She well remembered how terrifyingly sharp Carl's knife was. Feeling her burning stare, Carl said without reluctance. Borrow them for now. Alice didn't hesitate, she snapped them onto her forearms. She instantly saw why Carl called them melee only. With the claws she could manage only a pistol, rifle or SMG barrels conflicted with the forward talons. Even so, their lethal edge thrilled her. Ammo topped off, the 5 lined up before a massive steel door. Behind it waited the vaccine manufacturing device. Any danger inside? Sorry, I don't know. There's a place in Hive you don't know. Everyone needs privacy. My cameras don't cover every corner. This is the master control room, the boss's private quarters. I was never allowed to watch here. Got it. Can you open the door? Of course. Carl signaled the others back, raised his weapon, and told Red Queen. Open it. Affirmative. PSSSH. With a hiss of released pressure the huge gate slid aside. They'd braced for monsters, but the sight beyond made them exhale in relief. A vast, brilliantly lit chamber lay before them. Sci-fi whiteness coated every wall. Carl was reminded of Alice's duel with Wesker in the Resident Evil films. At Carl's gesture they advanced cautiously. Finding no threats, they finally relaxed. Looks like we're in luck. Tension melted away. But, where's the machine? Under your feet. At her words a rectangular silver case rose, glass panels revealing a precision robotic arm inside. The problem? The unit was 1.5 meters wide and 2.5 tall. How to move it? Simple, Red Queen said. A drone zipped to the left wall. Hive has more than one entrance. Unlike staff, each master has a private lift straight to the surface exit. Hearing this, every face broke into an excited grin. You mean we can leave right now? Exactly. Fantastic. Cheers erupted, they could finally quit this hellhole. Carl asked. Where does it surface? The Umbrella Executive Training Center. It links to the subway station under Raccoon City's Arklay Mountains. Perfect luck. With the subway, moving the machine became feasible. Yet Carl refused to risk the delicate device on a train. He ordered. No time. Once we're topside you wait, I'll fetch the chopper. Chopper. Kaplan caught on. The one we left at the mansion. Right. I stashed it as backup. Rain, Alice, Kaplan, Matt, you fly the crate straight to Raccoon City Police Department. Someone will contact you. Carl handed the digital comm to Rain. Rain sensed he had another task. What about you? I'm heading to Raccoon City TV station. Carl tapped the recorder on his shoulder. No idea how much good it'll do, but if we broadcast what happened we might still save Raccoon City, maybe the world. Admiration shone in every eye. Carl had become the hero who would save the world. Leave it to us. We'll get the machine there safely. Good. Then Red Queen's voice came from the remote on Carl's wrist. Sorry, Father, I don't wish to interrupt, but my cameras detect 5 lickers and 1 nemesis approaching. The words snapped every spine straight. Lickers. Nemesis. What are those? Carl already knew. Without hesitation he barked. Get that machine upstairs, now. I'll handle the lickers and nemesis. Carl was, of course, worried that the upcoming battles against the lickers and nemesis would damage this machine. Especially Nemesis, the evolved tyrant. Its overwhelming firepower could obliterate everything in sight. Sensing the gravity in Carl's voice, the others moved at once, wheeling the machine into the open elevator. Go. 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 The elevator was spacious. In moments they had pushed the machine inside. Then, to the sound of crisp footsteps, they finally saw what the so-called lickers really were. Their grotesque, gory appearance, exposed brains, elongated tongues, beast-like bodies. The sight filled everyone with overwhelming dread. Quick, Carl, get in. No. Carl drew his adamantium long blade and stepped between the lickers and the elevator. Someone has to hold them back or none of us escape. You go first. Once I've dealt with these things I'll find you. He yanked the remote from his arm, tossed it to them, and roared. Red Queen, go with them, move. Rain refused. Carl was no longer just the man who'd saved her life but a comrade she trusted. Yet Alice stopped her, eyes firm. Trust him. Trust him. With that she slammed the elevator door shut. Watching them leave, Carl could finally breathe. He had to admit he'd felt almost messianic back there. The real reason he'd sent Alice and Rain ahead. Simple. It would make using his own ability to escape far easier. But first he meant to test these lickers, and the yet unseen nemesis. After all, barring the later super-powered Alice and Wesker, they were pretty much the ceiling of monstrosity in this bioweapon world. He raised his sub-machine gun, Daka Daka Daka. Inside the elevator. As the car rose, a frantic Rain yelled at the console in her hand, what the hell are those things? What the hell are those things? Red Queen's calm voice replied. Lickers. Early Hive bio-weapon test. T-virus injected directly into living tissue. Highly unstable. Far more violent and uncontrollable. After consuming new DNA they evolve into faster, deadlier predators. Just hearing that description told everyone how terrifying the creatures outside were, no comparison to the zombies and zombie dogs they'd fought. And there were 5 of them. They had left Carl alone to face those monsters. Rain punched the wall in frustration, the metal clanging. Alice caught her arm, comforting her. All we can do is trust him and get this machine to safety, it's Raccoon City's only hope. Rain forced down her anger and stilled her gaze. Then Kaplan asked, so what exactly is Nemesis? Nemesis. Umbrella Corporation Raccoon City Branch's flagship project, built upon the Tyrant research. No one could keep listening, the console screen had filled with photos and data. The giant, muscle-bound frame and hideous face alone sent chills through them. Carl's current physique was formidable. Peak burst strength, 5 tons. He could lift a compact car and hurl it effortlessly. A punch could punch straight through an ordinary man's gut, but the real gain was the all-round enhancement that 5-ton power brought. Though he lacked regeneration, his muscle density let him shrug off small-caliber pistol rounds. An average fist felt like a tickle. Explosive strength let him run up walls or leap 20-30 meters straight up. His neural response and data processing speed were equally monstrous. Even outside hypersensory state, normal attacks looked 2 or 3 times slower. Combined with explosive speed and agility, his hand-to-hand skills far surpassed human limits. Add an almost indestructible adamantium blade to that strength and almost nothing could block his strikes. Schluck. One slash split the nearest licker from skull to groin. The creature's newly grown muscle was tough, necessary for its speed and power, yet under Carl's blade it parted like paper before the licker could even react. As the first corpse fell in two, Carl was already on the second licker. Shrip. Its head flew off, simultaneously his right foot snapped up, punting a third licker into the silver wall. The remaining two sensed the danger. Though mindless, lickers possess the predatory instinct to gauge prey. Carl's display of power sparked fear. The two at the rear whined like puppies, turned tail and fled without even using their trademark tongues. Even the one he'd kicked managed to stand, proving how tough their tissue was, and, to Carl's annoyance, the mangled flesh on its chest was visibly knitting itself back together. These things had regeneration he lacked. Unfair, but that was life. Yet despite being healed, that licker dared not attack again. Terrified, it bolted for the dark doorway. At the threshold it froze, sniffing something far more terrifying. At the same moment the ground shook and two pitiful shrieks rang out. Yee yee yee. The licker recoiled, backing away as though the monster in the darkness dwarfed even Carl in horror. Indeed it did. Heavy footsteps approached, and a giant figure appeared, muscles bulging, clad in thick leather, a rotary cannon in one hand, in the other a licker whose head had been crushed like an egg. Nemesis had arrived. Ever since Carl realized he'd arrived in the movie version of Resident Evil rather than the game's universe, he'd considered himself lucky, not because movie Jill was gorgeous, the game version wasn't bad either. His luck lay in the fact that, in the films, both the viruses and the monsters were far weaker than their game counterparts. Take, for example, the terrifying creature now stepping from the darkness, Nemesis. In the games, Nemesis is hailed as the perfect Tyrant series bioweapon. It far surpasses Carl's current strength. Its arms can exert 30 tons of force, it casually tears through reinforced concrete, shreds subway cars in seconds, and its speed is so extreme it can snatch rockets out of the air and even teleport. On top of that, the game version boasts ridiculous regeneration. A rocket to the face heals in seconds, and it can wield human weapons, machine guns, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, you name it. And that still isn't the worst of it. The worst part, Nemesis has two evolved forms. Both are even more terrifying. Just consider, its second form can unleash force measured in thousands of tons. Thousands of tons. In Marvel, you can count on one hand the characters who hit that tier. So Carl felt genuinely fortunate, the game world simply defies reason. And that's only the second form, there's an even more horrific third form beyond it. Still, even the movie version of Nemesis gets no underestimation from Carl. Who knows what unexpected abilities the thing might possess. While Carl weighed the possibilities, the Nemesis at the entrance raised the rotary cannon in its left hand. Rat-tat-tat. Carl sprinted away. Wherever he ran, the silver-white walls were chewed into scrap. At his current physical stats, those machine gun rounds had trouble tracking him. Yet, vast as the underground room was, it felt cramped once the fight began. Dodging, Carl recalled everything he knew about Nemesis and quickly formed a plan. Clink clank. A flash bang flew out, a blinding glare erupted. Nemesis's vision went pure white, losing sight of Carl. Seizing those seconds, Carl dashed in, adamantium longsword arcing down. The rotary cannon on Nemesis's left arm split in two, the left hand severed and dropping to the floor. Adamantium truly lives up to its reputation as one of Marvel's biggest cheats. Even a monster like Nemesis is sliced like paper beneath its edge. Roar. Agony tore a roar from Nemesis. Carl aimed to behead it in the same breath, but the creature reacted, its right fist hammering toward him. Carl abandoned the attempt and sprang back. He had no wish to go toe-to-toe with such a thing. The T-virus still inspired deep caution. Boom. The instant Carl retreated, Nemesis's colossal fist slammed the floor, gouging a crater into the silver plating. Not the game's 30 tons, but 3 or 4 tons at least. Meaning Carl held no strength advantage. Fortunately, the brief exchange had shown him something. Unlike the eyeless lickers, Nemesis possessed, and depended on, sight. Seeing its strike fail, Nemesis picked up its severed left hand and jammed it back onto the stump. Countless tiny tendrils wriggled out, knitting the limb in place. Carl didn't press the opening. Instead he pulled 3 smoke grenades from his pack and lobbed them around Nemesis in a triangle. Instantly the hall filled with choking smoke. Carl wasn't worried about losing vision. His night vision goggles gave him infrared sight, but moments later he discovered he wasn't the only one so equipped. Roar. Nemesis locked onto him anyway, charging with a thunderous howl. Every footfall slammed the ground, radiating crushing pressure. Yet this confirmed something for Carl. Strong and fast to react, Nemesis was nevertheless mediocre in pure speed. Mediocre by Carl's standards, still far above any normal human. That gave him an opening. As Nemesis reached him and a fist descended like a piledriver, Carl executed a sliding tackle. Exploiting the height difference, he slashed at the creature's legs. The result wasn't what he'd hoped. He did sever both legs, but when he spun around, a power-packed kick greeted him. Bang! The adamantium knife caught the blow, saving Carl. Glancing over, he saw why he'd failed. What insane regeneration. Unlike the detached arm, the legs hadn't separated. The moment they were cut, they fused back together. Nemesis reached for him again. Let's see how much abuse you can heal from. Carl danced clear of the grabbing hand and launched a whirlwind of slashes, not one, but dozens. First he chopped the right arm into 3 sections. When the left arm kept coming, he sliced it in 2. Still not stopping, he spun behind Nemesis, lopped off its head, and finished with a kick. Boom. The bulky frame crashed down, body split into 7 pieces. Yet even now Nemesis wasn't dead. Muscles writhed, tendrils shooting out to drag the parts together. Setting side effects aside, the regeneration looked almost on par with Wolverine's. Carl felt zero temptation toward that power. Nothing trumps keeping his pretty face intact. Now the real question, how do you kill it? Then it hit him. He fished a small green vial from his pocket. T-virus vaccine. He tossed the vial into the writhing mass of muscle and tendrils. The glass shattered, green fluid seeped into Nemesis's tissue. A shriek of agony ripped through the air. Before his eyes the hulking frame dissolved, shrinking, convulsing. Until nothing remained but a puddle of blood. While Carl was fighting Nemesis, Alice and the others who had taken the elevator to the outside world ran into trouble. The T-virus was spreading faster than they had imagined, and the Umbrella Corporation executive training facility, already right beside the mansion, became the first victim. The instant the elevator doors opened, they saw countless zombies outside. Fortunately, after the battles below, they'd already mastered how to kill these monsters. About 10 minutes later, the 4 of them had wiped out every zombie and wheeled out the vaccine manufacturing machine. Because Carl still needed the elevator to come up, they didn't dare waste a second. Then came the anxious wait. They had known Carl for less than an hour, yet he meant something special to each of them. He had appeared like a savior to rescue Rain, pulled Kaplan out of the laser corridor, uncovered the truth behind Matt's sister's death, and killed Spence to avenge her. Finally, Carl and Alice seemed the least connected, but Alice had still received a gift from him. Even if it was only on loan. So they waited, eyes glued to the floor number display above the elevator doors, praying the digits would change. Because that would mean Carl had escaped too. Yet as seconds crawled by, the numbers refused to budge. Time slowly crept to 10 p.m. At last Rain couldn't take it anymore and started toward the shaft, only to be stopped. This time, though, it wasn't Alice who stopped her, it was Red Queen. I advise against it. Nemesis is one of Umbrella Corporation's most successful products. I see no possibility of your defeating him, you would only hinder him. Though the words sounded perfectly rational, everyone caught a whiff of sarcasm. Rain rolled her eyes. So you can't use your surveillance of the hive to tell us what's happening down there? I'm sorry, I cannot. My father now holds my highest level permissions. Without his consent I cannot reveal any information regarding him, it's written into my core code. Moreover, so far I have collected no data on my father from the Hive's monitoring systems. Everyone's face darkened. Still, there is one piece of good news. I have likewise collected no data on Nemesis. The outcome remains uncertain. It was the best bad news they could get. Yet it only made the group more restless. Just as patience was running out. The sudden whump of rotor blades outside made everyone jump. Who's that? They rushed to the entrance and stared into the night sky. A helicopter swooped in, its dazzling searchlight hiding whoever was inside. Only when it settled onto the lawn in front of them did a figure leap down. Move. Next stop, downtown. Outside Raccoon City Police Department. Jill, Kent, Dr. Ashford and the others sat in a car. Jill was at the wheel, Kent rode shotgun, and Dr. Ashford shared the back seat with two little girls. Dr. Ashford's daughter Angela and Kent's daughter Emma met for the first time and instantly became best friends. Emma shared every toy she owned. While the kids played, the three adults were visibly on edge. More than 2.5 hours had passed since Carl's last check-in, and Jill's anxiety was plain. One hand clutched the radio, the other gripped the steering wheel as she stared at the police department building ahead. Because of the children she couldn't smoke, which only sharpened her irritability. Then Emma in the back row fished out her treasure and offered it to Jill. Here, Jill. Jill glanced over and blinked. Emma was holding out a lollipop. My candy's super sweet. It'll make you happy. The familiar words calmed Jill a little. She accepted it, tore off the wrapper, and popped it into her mouth. It really is sweet, thanks. You're welcome. Emma beamed, then asked curiously. Is he your boyfriend? Jill hesitated, she knew exactly who he was. Before she could answer, Angela leaned forward and blurted to her new friend. I saw them kissing. Emma's eyes lit up. Really? What's kissing like? I want a boyfriend so I can try it. The fathers, Kent and Dr. Ashford, exchanged wry smiles. Kent ruffled his daughter's hair. You're still too little. Save kissing for when you're older. That's ages away. Emma pouted but settled back beside Angela. Kent gave an apologetic shrug. Sorry, kids. But if it were me and I met the right person, I'd never let go, just like when I met Emma's mom. Love's rarer than a lottery ticket. For a moment Jill's eyes flickered, a rare girlish fluster crossing her face. Reading the cue, Kent let the matter drop. I believe in RRCPD's finest flower. Thanks. Jill smiled faintly. Just then a burst of static crackled through the radio. All three adults snapped alert. Jill hit the transmit button fastest, and the words that followed made everyone exhale in relief. Jill, how's my gift coming along? At last Jill grinned, the weight sliding off her shoulders. You fool, she said. Above Raccoon City TV station. Inside the helicopter. The group stared at Carl's radiant grin, none of them had ever seen him this happy. Rain raised an eyebrow. Girlfriend. Not officially, but soon. Without further chatter Carl handed the radio to Rain. I'll leave the rest to you. With that he leapt toward the rooftop helipad just below, Red Queen following right behind. Once the helicopter carrying the machine had dwindled into the distance, Carl turned to Red Queen. If I want the whole world to see Raccoon City TV's feed right now, can you do it? Of course, child's play. Carl, arriving at Raccoon City TV station with Red Queen at his side, easily located the reporter waiting for him, Terry. Terry, who had been waiting downstairs all day, was startled by Carl's fully armed appearance. How is it? Fortunately, Terry's professionalism as an anchor quickly reasserted itself. She knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to make a name for herself, so she said. I can take you straight to the Channel 1 studio. Right now it's the evening news slot. Almost everyone in Raccoon City watches it, but I can't guarantee anything else. Understood. Just lead the way. Following Terry, Carl, without even time to change clothes, strode into the TV station building. His combat gear naturally drew every eye, especially the security guards, who stepped forward to speak but were blocked by Terry. He's with Raccoon City Police Department and my guest. The guards were puzzled, but after all, Terry was the weather presenter for Raccoon City. More importantly, none of them wanted to tangle with someone who looked this vicious and battle-ready. They were only earning a fixed wage, no need to risk their lives. Thus, without a single obstacle, the two reached the evening news studio. The show's producer, seeing Terry bringing in a stranger who barged straight into the studio, roared. "What are you doing, Terry? This isn't your weather segment." Terry didn't answer. Carl answered for her. Rat-tat-tat. The clear gunfire stunned everyone in the studio. Raccoon City Police Department. After receiving word that Carl had returned safely, Jill wasted no time. Leaving Kent to protect Doctor in the car, she jumped out and rushed into the clamoring station. Everyone found Jill's arrival odd. After all, she was currently suspended, but no one dwelt on it. That is, until Jill drew her sidearm and fired 3 rounds into the ceiling. The sudden shots startled everyone in the station, cops, criminals, and troublemakers alike, plunging the place into silence. Normally the officers would have returned fire, but seeing the shooter was Jill, no one feared. Instead, someone stepped up and asked with concern. "Jill, you okay?" "Of course I'm okay. Peyton." The man who approached was her colleague in the department and a member of STARS, the black officer Peyton. "Listen, I know you've been suspended, but this is definitely not a smart way to vent." Just then, in an office nearby, Director Brian Irons, hearing the shots, cracked the door, saw it was Jill, and stormed out in rage. "Have you lost it, Jill? Looks like you're not just sick, you're seriously ill. I suggest you." Unfortunately, Brian Irons never finished, because Jill's muzzle was already pointing at him. That made Peyton even more frantic, pleading. "Hear me, Jill, stay calm." Jill raised an eyebrow and checked her watch. "Relax, Peyton. I'm perfectly calm. Can you turn on the TV? Switch to Raccoon City Channel 1. Everyone in the station was bewildered, but trusting Jill, Peyton picked up the remote and turned on the corner-mounted set. Coincidentally, the instant the screen lit up, it showed something that grabbed every cop's attention. In the studio, a fully armed man strode in, gun raised. The two anchors, a man and a woman, were so terrified they forgot how to walk, scrambling out on all fours. Everyone in the station seemed to realize something. Director Brian Irons roared. "Jill, have you gone mad? Do you even know what you're doing?" Beside him, Peyton looked equally concerned. Jill, however, replied coolly. "I'm not crazy, you and Umbrella Corporation are. You're gambling with every life in Raccoon City." At that, Brian Irons' pupils contracted. Meanwhile, on the TV, weather presenter Terry took the reins in the crisis. "To every viewer watching right now, I know you're curious and afraid, but please don't turn off your TV, because the emergency news you're about to hear concerns every one of your lives." Around 6 this afternoon, Umbrella Corporation's secret lab beneath Raccoon City, the Hive, suffered a major viral leak that's now racing through the city. By tomorrow morning, half of Raccoon City's residents could be infected. You may have heard similar reports, because not long ago our star officer, Ms. Jill Valentine, tried to reveal this, but Umbrella used its powerful media and political influence to suppress it. But now it's different. We have solid evidence. The upcoming footage may be graphic, but I assure you this is no joke. Our world faces an unprecedented disaster. Your children, wives, and families could all perish in this crisis. If anyone has already encountered such monsters, remember 2 things. 1. The only way to kill them is to destroy their brains. 2. If you're infected, come to Raccoon City Police Department immediately. We have vaccines we managed to obtain from Umbrella. Next, please watch the footage. Mr. Carl and the USS agent risked their lives to shoot inside Umbrella's hive. The moment Terry finished, the screen cut. Inside the station, those who'd thought Jill insane now stared, frozen, at the hive footage Carl had filmed. The hideous monsters stunned them all. So, Jill, it's true, Clad and the others really died to those things. Yes. Throughout, Jill's pistol never left the ashen-faced director. So what do we do now? You've got 2 choices. Leave Raccoon City now while you still can, or stay and fight the monsters with us, only then can we stop the virus from spreading. As Jill spoke, officers exchanged glances. In the end, Peyton stepped forward and asked. Raccoon City is our home, we're not leaving. Tell us, Jill, what do we do? Good. First thing, gather every weapon in the station, the more the better. We'll need a lot of guns to kill all these monsters. Raccoon City, Umbrella Corporation headquarters. As the master of Raccoon City's hive, Kane naturally saw the news. Still, he wasn't overly worried. Umbrella's grip on the media left him confident everything was under control, yet the betrayal of the USS operative and the identity of the person filming enraged him. But his composure soon crumbled. A phone call came in. Kane knew why they were calling, so the moment it connected he said, "Don't worry, Isaac, everything's under control. Don't worry, Isaac, everything's under control." The line went silent for a moment, then delivered words that made Kane's face turn ashen. "Kane, your stupidity astonishes me." Kane's expression darkened. "Isaac, remember your place. We're equals, you have no right to lecture me." "Then what if I told you this broadcast isn't just in Raccoon City, it's worldwide?" Kane flinched, then stammered, "That's impossible. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible. And tell me, where is Dr. Ashford?" "He's at home, of course." An angry voice came through the receiver. "Kane, your idiocy shocks me again. Why do you think the whole world can see this feed while Umbrella can do nothing?" "What?" Kane was stunned, then suddenly realized something. "You mean, the Red Queen. At least you're not beyond saving. Headquarters gives you 24 hours. Bring back Dr. Ashford and the Red Queen, critical assets. After tomorrow, you're on your own." Raccoon City television station. With the Red Queen's help, the station began airing footage of Hive's monstrosities. Everyone in the studio turned pale. The undead creatures were terrifying. The show's producer trembled as he asked, "Is this real?" "Of course it's real." Terry, stepping off the stage, exclaimed excitedly. Carl had told her the story would air worldwide. She was about to make history. Terry, stepping off the stage, exclaimed excitedly. Carl had told her the story would air worldwide. She was about to make history. "What should we do?" Carl answered him. "Evacuate Raccoon City now, or do as Terry says if you insist on staying." I understand." Sweating, the producer hurried out. Seeing their boss flee, the staff scrambled for the exits. Carl didn't care, the news was out. Had it been tomorrow, he wouldn't have let civilians leave. Any might carry the T-virus, but for now the city was still safe. Besides, with the broadcast live, he couldn't stop them. Through the studio window he gazed upon Raccoon City. Chaos already reigned outside. Meanwhile, as the city erupted and crowds fled. On a desolate highway outside Raccoon City. A black sedan drove against the tide, heading in. Behind the wheel sat an Asian woman in a trench coat, short hair brushing her shoulders, earpiece glinting. She watched helicopters and cars streaming away from Raccoon City. "Looks like our mysterious agent has thrown the whole city into chaos." "Not just the city." A man's deep voice came through her earpiece. "The UN just demanded answers. Russia, China, Britain and France have suspended all flights to the US, Europe's declared a public health emergency. Umbrella's never faced a crisis like this." The woman shrugged. "That's bad news." "Not entirely. Our mystery enemy gave us superb advertising. Buyers want our bio-weapons, even the White House. But Umbrella has 24 hours to contain the outbreak. So what's my mission? First, find out everything about that man named Carl. Second, get your hands on his weapon. Weapon. Yes. Nemesis was sliced into 7 pieces like paper by that man's blade." For a moment her face showed utter shock. She knew Nemesis's armor. Rocket launchers barely scratched it. "Understood. Is there a third task?" "No. You have 22 hours. 22 hours. Correct. Then a tactical hydrogen bomb launches from Florida, obliterating Raccoon City in 5 minutes." Her eyes widened. She floored the accelerator and sped toward the city. Carl couldn't air the entire lengthy Hive footage, so with Red Queen's help he edited the most horrifying 7-minute montage. Carl couldn't air the entire lengthy Hive footage, so with Red Queen's help he edited the most horrifying 7-minute montage. Once it finished, he and Terry left the studio. The TV station was in uproar, employees fled en masse. These middle-class professionals knew the right choice when a viral catastrophe loomed. When Carl and Terry reached the building's exit, Raccoon City lay in total chaos, traffic jams, blaring horns, families cramming into cars, all racing to escape. Looters added to the mayhem. Journalist Terry felt the apocalypse approaching. Her earlier thrill at fame gave way to dread. What do we do now? Wait. She soon understood. A helicopter thundered across the sky. About 4 minutes later, Carl and Terry arrived on the roof of Raccoon City Police headquarters in a helicopter piloted by Kaplan. As they came in, Carl saw countless officers setting up barricades and firing ports around the police department and city hall, bracing for a possible zombie outbreak. The only bridge into town was already packed with traffic. After the three of them, Carl, Terry, and Kaplan, stepped off the elevator, they reached the ground floor. When the doors opened, Carl saw Jill, now the undisputed head of the entire Raccoon City Police Department, commanding every officer inside. Carl and Terry's arrival drew everyone's attention. After all, they had just watched the news. In that instant, Carl and Jill locked eyes, something unspoken passing between them. Terry and Kaplan tactfully stepped out of frame. Welcome back. Though it was only a short sentence, the other officers heard an unprecedented softness in the voice of the pride of the precinct. Everyone understood, their expressions varying. How's my gift coming along? Carl walked up and looked into Jill's captivating eyes. Jill rolled her eyes, smiling as she did. At that moment, a nearby black officer, Peyton, picked up on something in Carl's tone. You're Carl Lance. Thank you for saving Raccoon City. This is Peyton, a friend from the precinct and a member of STARS. Jill snapped back to attention and introduced them. Carl politely extended his hand. That's me, but it's too soon to call it saving. What's the situation now? Hearing Carl's words, everyone refocused. Jill and Peyton's expressions darkened as they spoke quietly. Follow me. Led by Jill, the three entered an upstairs office. The moment the door opened, Carl saw Chief Brian Irons of the Raccoon City Police Department, handcuffed, bound, and gagged, struggling when he saw them enter. What's going on? Jill's face contorted with rage at the sight of him. Peyton, equally furious, explained. We just checked the station's armory, empty. Carl was stunned. Unable to hold back, Jill kicked the chief, sending him sprawling before speaking. This fool moved every gun out of the station armory a week ago. Carl frowned at the bruised and battered chief. So it was deliberate. Peyton stepped forward, propped the chief up, and removed the gag. Carl Lance, who exactly do you serve? You're breaking federal law, this is treason. Before he could finish, his pupils shrank. A cold gun barrel pressed against his head. I ask, you answer. Understood. Brian wasn't easily intimidated and started to lash out, but a gunshot rang out, the pain in his arm leaving him trembling. Even Peyton was startled. Jill, seated on a nearby table, took a drag from her cigarette, watching coldly. Speak. Did you know the virus would leak today? Now the chief didn't dare say a word. No, I didn't know. A week ago, Umbrella Corporation executives ordered me to move all police weapons. I had no choice. Everyone in the room understood. Peyton exploded. This was Umbrella's plan all along. They orchestrated the leak to turn Raccoon City into hell. All the weapons were moved. That same night, everything was shipped out. Carl slapped the chief unconscious, then looked at Jill and Peyton. What's the situation now? Jill answered. Luckily, we prepared. Besides Kent's gun shop, there are several others. I sent Kent to contact them. STARS, armory is separate from the precinct and untouched. But we're short on heavy firepower. That counted as good news. Carl looked gently at Jill. Don't worry. I'm here. And if the virus spreads as fast as we think, once we get through tomorrow's surge, we should be fine. Jill finally relaxed. What now? Stick to the plan. When I arrived, I saw most citizens fleeing. That means less pressure on us. Some who couldn't escape will head our way. Check them carefully. Keep any infected out. Let Rain and Kaplan handle it, they're USS veterans with plenty of zombie experience. By the way, where's the doctor? With the machine, Angela, and Emma in the infirmary. The woman named Alice is protecting them. Then we're fine. With Alice around, no one can touch the doctor. Jill's eyes flickered. You and that woman Alice, along with Rain, seem close. They've been worried about you. Carl was momentarily stunned, then smiled. Should I take that as jealousy? Peyton, seeing this, knew it was time to leave. I'll go coordinate downstairs. Once Peyton left, Carl stepped closer, his face inches from Jill's. Now I want my gift. In that instant, Jill's eyes betrayed a flicker of feminine panic, but she didn't flinch as Carl's lips drew nearer. This time, they kissed deeper. Only after a long moment did they part, reluctant. By then, Jill was already wrapped in Carl's arms. Jill, your eyes, more beautiful than the stars in the sky. The atmosphere between them was electric. Just then, the door burst open. Peyton had returned and, seeing them embracing, was visibly awkward. Sorry to interrupt, but you'd better come see this. When Carl led Jill out of the Raccoon City Police Department gates, he spotted a helicopter landing on the road opposite the station in the night at a glance. In front of the helicopter stood a squad of soldiers and a suit-clad man with a gloomy face. Everyone present knew the man well. He was Umbrella's Raccoon City chief, Kane. While everyone looked at Kane, Kane was also watching the group from the police department approaching. As the head of Umbrella Corporation, the true power behind Raccoon City, Kane didn't need to risk coming in person, yet he was too curious about the man who had caused all this. With his control over the city and Isaac, Tip, he had quickly uncovered everything. Kane almost instantly noticed Carl, who was walking in the center of the group. Who are you, and whom do you serve? Kane spat the words through gritted teeth. Surrounded by the others, Carl stepped up to Kane with a relaxed expression and said, Carl Lance. I serve no one, I'm here only to save Raccoon City. Save Raccoon City. Carl's self-satisfied look made Kane's eyelid twitch. You think those videos you released can change anything? You underestimate Umbrella Corporation. Before Carl could respond, Jill at his side burst into a roar. Tell me, was the Umbrella wastewater treatment plant you're doing? Kane looked relaxed and didn't even bother to hide it. I know you, Ms. Jill Valentine, STARS, Star Officer. I'm sorry about your friends' deaths, but don't blame me. I just didn't expect that elite officers of Raccoon City couldn't handle the lowest tier monsters. That disappoints me. Jill's pupils shrank. Fury exploded through her as she raised her pistol and aimed it at Kane. I'll kill you. Son of a. Peyton and the other STARS members and ordinary officers beside Jill couldn't take it anymore. Those dead officers had been friends to many of them. The soldiers behind Kane reflexively raised their rifles. The two sides glared at each other, tension sky high. Yet Kane wasn't worried. He knew these people wouldn't dare shoot. The law still held great sway over anyone who could become a cop. At the very least, they absolutely wouldn't harm him in front of so many witnesses, so he swept his gaze over them disdainfully and asked, Where's your chief, Brian Irons? I want to see him. Just as Kane expected, every officer, Jill included, seethed with rage, yet no one pulled the trigger. They looked at one another until Carl stepped forward, pressed down Jill's trembling arm, and said slowly, Cool it. Jill shot Kane a furious, unwilling glare, but finally lowered her gun under Carl's comm. The other officers and the soldiers behind Kane followed suit. After Carl gave Jill a reassuring look, he walked to the front and addressed Kane. Sorry, Mr. Kane, you won't be seeing the chief. I have ample reason to believe Chief Brian Irons is intimately connected to your T-virus leak. He's been placed under our custody. Kane frowned and turned to the officers behind Carl. Custody. What right do you low-rank officers have to detain Mr. Brian Irons? The source of Kane's confidence was simple. Raccoon City's Internal Affairs Bureau was also in Umbrella's pocket. The U.S. police system had no tradition of subordinates overruling superiors. If you suspected a superior, you reported it and let a special agency handle the investigation. Internal affairs, for example. Everyone stuck to their duties. Privately detaining a superior was indeed illegal. Seeing the officers hesitate and sensing their unease, Carl immediately stepped up, borrowing a bigger banner. They certainly don't, but I do. Sorry, Mr. Kane, though I won't tell you who sent me to investigate you. Perhaps you can guess. Every eye turned to Carl. Although he'd spoken in questions and revealed nothing, no one doubted him, Kane included. The man's pupils shrank, a flicker of unease in his gaze. Everything Carl had done, his weapons, his high-tech gear, proved that behind him stood a mysterious organization secretly investigating Umbrella. Seeing this, Kane immediately shifted topics. I'm not interested in riddles, Mr. Lance. I don't care where you're from. But as long as no court has ruled otherwise, Umbrella Corporation remains a legal U.S. pharmaceutical company. I'm here for one purpose only: to retrieve Umbrella's vital assets. Drive. Ashford, Alice, the USS. Team members, Red Queen, and that machine. They belong to Umbrella. You have no authority to detain them. Carl raised an eyebrow. You're right, Mr. Kane, I don't have the authority to detain them. But you're wrong about one thing. Oh. And what's that? This is Raccoon City, territory of the United States of America, and under our laws human rights are sacred and inviolable. You just called Dr. Ashford, Alice, and Rain, assets. I indeed lack the authority to detain them, but if they're unwilling to go with you, you have no right or power to force them. How about I have them brought here so you can ask them personally whether they'd like to leave with you? Kane frowned and said slowly. Mr. Lance, you do have a glib tongue. Compliment accepted. If you insist on forcing them away, at least bring a court warrant. Of course, given Umbrella's conduct in Raccoon City, I'm entitled to believe the court has been bought and refused to recognize any such warrant. Only an idiot couldn't see that Carl had no intention of handing over Dr. Ashford, Alice, or anyone else. Interesting. Kane wasted no more words. He knew further talk would be pointless. The man before him wouldn't surrender a single thing. So he simply turned, called all the soldiers, and boarded the helicopter. As the rotors spun and the aircraft lifted off, Kane stared at Carl with icy eyes. Use every contact, dig up everything on him. And lock down Raccoon City, don't let a single person leave. Want to play the hero? Then let's see how you save Raccoon City. On the ground, every officer breathed a sigh of relief as the helicopter lifted off. What do we do now? Peyton, the black officer, looked at Carl and asked. Everyone else wore the same expression. At that moment, every cop in Raccoon City had already taken Carl as their leader. Setting aside the fact that he'd exposed Umbrella Corporation's conspiracy in Raccoon City and saved them all, the mysterious identity he'd just revealed made every officer present link him to some secret government agent. Jill, recalling Kane's gloomy glare, warned. That fool's definitely cooking up something bad, we'd better watch our backs. Carl had already realized it without Jill's reminder. Although Kane had given the order midair, don't forget, his hearing had improved countless times along with his physique. Seal off Raccoon City. Carl had no intention of letting that happen. Before the T-virus spread, the more people who could escape Raccoon City, the better. That way, the pressure on him later would be lighter. He didn't rush to speak, though, instead, he swept his gaze over everyone present and said. Stick to our plan, meet change with constancy. Jill, Peyton, come with me. The two followed Carl to the Raccoon City Police Department's pharmacy. The moment they stepped in, they saw Dr. Ashford preparing raw materials at a machine and Alice talking with Angela nearby. Dr. Ashford, is the vaccine production going smoothly? Their arrival drew everyone's attention. Dr. Ashford nodded. Very smoothly. I have every raw material I need. What happened downstairs? I saw Kane. Dr. Ashford and Alice's expressions turned grave. Don't worry. Carl recounted everything that had just happened. You won't blame me for taking matters into my own hands, will you? Of course not. Dr. Ashford, in his wheelchair, shook his head. Gazing tenderly at his daughter Angela, he said. Honestly, ever since Umbrella Corporation stole my research to create those monsters, I've hardly slept, jolted awake every night by the horrors in my nightmares. I've never felt this relaxed. Thank you, there's little I can do, but at least I'm atoning. Dad. Angela came over and gently took her father's hand. Angela. Dr. Ashford stroked his daughter's hair. The heart-warming scene eased everyone's tension. Seeing this, Alice smiled and then looked at Carl and Jill. Anything I can help with? Yep. Carl nodded. Although Mr. Kane seems to have backed off, we all know Umbrella Corporation won't let us go so easily. In my view, they only have two options. 1. Storm the Raccoon City Police Department and take you hostage. But with our current firepower, that's nearly impossible unless they mobilize the army. So they'll choose the second option. Seal off the entire city. Seal off the whole of Raccoon City. Everyone gasped. Yes. Turn Raccoon City into a living hell. Then we'll become the ultimate targets of those zombies. We're prepared, but against tens of thousands of undead. Carl didn't finish, but everyone understood. Their faces went pale. Jill roared in fury, those fools. So what do we need to do? Alice asked, staying comparatively calm. We must get as many civilians out of Raccoon City as possible before the T-virus erupts. Luckily, the virus hasn't spread into the city yet. I've had Red Queen scout, there's still time. Alice, apart from me, you're the best fighter here. Everyone looked at the beautiful woman before them. The main route connecting Raccoon City to the outside world is the Maymen Bridge. If Umbrella seizes and blocks it, the city's people lose their greatest hope of escape. I want you to do whatever it takes to stop Umbrella from locking down that bridge. I'll have Peyton give you whatever weapons you need, and Red Queen will assist you. To let Red Queen operate at full capacity, Carl handed over all 6 drones he'd brought, putting them under her control. The whole of Raccoon City was now under Red Queen's surveillance. Alice fell into thought. Jill, stunned, asked Carl, "You're not sending her alone, are you?" Under the group's puzzled stares, Carl nodded and said something no one understood. Alice is special, she's the perfect choice for this mission. Alice snapped her gaze to Carl. Jill started to object, but Alice, seeming to grasp something, spoke up. No problem, I'll take it. But I have one condition. Which is, those twin weapons are mine. Deal. Fully kitted out and carrying a drone remote controlled by Red Queen, Alice left the Raccoon City Police Department alone to carry out Carl's assignment. Everyone's gaze was awed, entrusting such a tough mission to a lone, beautiful woman, but trust in Carl kept their curiosity in check. Let's head to the station. Raccoon City Central Station. Although trains were one way out, for most car-owning Americans driving was the first choice. After all, besides people, they had to bring plenty of luggage. This was evacuation. When Carl arrived with Jill, the place looked desolate, not a soul in sight. It wasn't that no one wanted to take the train, even the drivers had fled. Station staff were at least middle class and had run faster than anyone. But that was exactly what they wanted. Entering the main control room, they found Kaplan and Matt busy inside. How's it looking? Kaplan and Matt exhaled in relief at the sight of Carl and Jill. I've checked. No major issues. Raccoon City's trains use autopilot, but luckily, unlike elsewhere, Central Station was built early. All its systems are isolated from Raccoon City's network, so Umbrella can't tamper with them. More importantly, as the city's biggest station, we still have 2 spare locomotives. Very lucky, this is our last escape route, it can't fail. I'll run another check. Kaplan left, and Matt stepped forward hesitantly. Sorry, can I ask something? Of course. No offense, I just want to know, when do you think we can leave? That really is a good question. From start to finish, Carl has had only one purpose. To alter the timeline of this world as much as possible and see how those changes affect him. So far, he's already changed plenty. First, he exposed Umbrella Corporation's T-virus leak ahead of schedule. Second, he rewrote the fates of several key characters, including Matt, who would later become Nemesis, and Rain and Kaplan, who originally died to the T-virus. Lastly, he saved Dr. Ashford, creator of both virus and vaccine, giving this world a future again. On a macro level, Carl's actions have already had a massive impact. The vaccine alone could save tens of thousands of lives in Raccoon City. And potentially many more in the future. After all, in the original timeline, billions across the planet would eventually turn into zombies. Yet he still hasn't felt the surge of spatial mana that hit him the moment Logan died in the Logan world. What does that mean? Either he hasn't changed enough, or his assumption was wrong from the start. The surge he needs might hinge on something other than altering the plot. But what? Carl is stumped. He'll just have to keep experimenting, he has no way home anyway. Fortunately, he still needs to stay and absorb the Phoenix's energy, so there's no rush. Seeing Carl lost in thought, Matt mistakes it for irritation and quickly explains. Sorry, I'm not trying to run. I just think Dr. Ashford's safety is paramount. He can manufacture the vaccine, and Raccoon City is too dangerous right now. Jill's face is torn. Carl stretches out a hand. No, I'm not blaming you, Matt. What you say makes sense, but. He turns to Jill, voice gentle. I promise Jill, From the start our goal has been to save as many innocents as possible. Jill's eyes softened to water. Of course, the doctor's life matters too. So. Carl checks his watch. Conveniently, it's now exactly midnight. If by this time tomorrow we can contain the T-virus spread in Raccoon City, we'll hold the line. This beautiful city is our home. No one wants it to become hell. But if the situation spirals, we pull out. Agreed. Matt brightens at once. Deal. We have to try to save Raccoon City. Just then Kaplan returns. Carl repeats the plan. Kaplan has no objections. He's wanted to leave this hellhole anyway. 24 more hours is nothing. Then it's settled. Please inform the others. Understanding the dismissal, Kaplan and Matt take their leave. Only Carl and Jill remain in the station. Moved yet guilt-ridden, Jill simply says, "Thank you." Meeting her captivating eyes, Carl arches a brow. "I prefer a different kind of thank you." Jill knows exactly what he means and kisses him without hesitation. In the bright, quiet station the two embrace and kiss. Only after a long while do they part. Carl looks at her, faintly apologetic. "Sorry, Jill. I still can't tell you who I really am." "No, you don't need to. I understand." Jill gently caresses his cheek. "Thanks. But as one way a man apologizes to his girlfriend, Jill, I've prepared a gift." While Carl and Jill are lost in tenderness, Alice has reached the main road out of Raccoon City, only to find it hopelessly jammed. For 3 or 4 kilometers ahead the highway is choked with vehicles. Horns and curses fill the air. Alice can clearly see families, adults and children, crammed inside the cars. All of them are trying to flee Raccoon City. Every face is etched with anxiety and regret. They're too late. The quickest residents escaped hours ago. These are the ones who refused to believe the televised warnings of a viral outbreak. Moments after Carl left the TV station, Kane seized control and announced the broadcast had been just a prank. Only when armed soldiers sealed every exit did the families sense something was wrong. A detachment of rifle-toting troops now blocks every road out of Raccoon City. No one is allowed to leave. Seeing the barricaded bridge, the razor wire, the soldiers, and the wall under construction, the citizens finally realize the truth, but it's too late. After a quick survey, Alice finds no opening and asks the Red Queen on her left arm. "Any suggestions?" 2. First, eliminate all the soldiers, there aren't many. Alice isn't a killer, she dismisses the idea. Second option. You're in luck. Drone footage appears on-screen. Near the bridge sits a parked Peterbilt 389 heavy truck, used to haul wall sections. Commandeer it and you can ram a path through. Alice's eyes light up. 10 minutes later, amid screams and gunfire, the mighty truck smashes the blockade apart. Seeing the breach, the vehicles behind floor the accelerator and follow. In an instant, a torrent of cars surges out of Raccoon City. At the same moment, atop the steel framework of Meishan Bridge, a windcoat-clad lady watches it all. Dawn. The sky was only just beginning to lighten. The once beautiful Raccoon City now lay in ruins, the air thick with the stench of smoke and scorched debris. In midtown Raccoon City, Central Avenue had lost its usual bustle. Not a living soul walked the streets, everywhere were the scars of looting and arson. Suddenly, a rhythmic burst of hip-hop echoed, followed by the crash of shattering glass. 3 young black men burst out of a jewelry store, draped in necklaces and rings, faces alight with excitement. "Yo, bros, we're rich." He spread his arms and shouted at the empty street. Another kid bobbed his head in glee, but the third, stockier, looked over the dead city and muttered uneasily. "Shouldn't we find somewhere safe to hide?" The moment the words left his lips the leader snapped. "Hey, man, you awake? Look around. No cops, no security, nobody to stop us. We can take whatever we want. I love this Raccoon City. Now you wanna hide? Wake up, bro, we're gods here. But what about those zombies on the news? Zombies." He unzipped his jacket to reveal twin pistols tucked at his waist. "If they show, I'll pop their heads. Right now we keep going. This is our one shot to get rich." The words had barely left his mouth when footsteps sounded ahead, startling them. The leader scowled. The newcomer looked like a fellow looter, a woman laden with bags and baubles. He stalked forward, pistol in hand. "Hey, fool, drop it, that's ours." The woman slowly turned her head at his shout. All three froze, pupils shrinking in terror. Half her face was gone, the remaining half of her mouth split in a rictus grin as she shambled toward them. Shit. The trio bolted in blind panic. They didn't get far. From every alley and cross street an army of zombies surged toward them. And no, no. Pop pop pop. Screams ripped through the avenue. High above, a drone glided past, recording it all. The Raccoon City Police Department counted among the city's grandest buildings. It had been converted from the old Raccoon City Museum. On the roof stood Carl, Jill, Alice, Rain, Kaplan, Peyton, Terry, and Matt, looking down on the lifeless city. Apart from the station, Raccoon City had become a dead zone. Only at the barricaded gates did a trickle of civilians pass inspection and file inside for shelter. Looks like we did right, Alice. Thanks for last night. Now we only have to hold these 3 intersections. Alice gave a dismissive shrug. Don't thank me. How many are still stuck in the city? Red Queen answered. Currently 4,231 inside the station. The number keeps climbing but won't top 5,000. Most are elderly who refuse to leave, or have no one to help them, or simply missed the last evacuation. Though Alice had worked through the night, Umbrella Corporation sealed the city at 3 a.m. So what are we facing? Jill asked. Again Red Queen replied. T-virus spread faster than projected. Drone surveillance shows the whole city fell overnight, especially the uptown districts near the Arklay Mountains. Roughly 10,000 infected. Gasps rippled through the group. Why so many? We issued warnings. Terry the reporter protested. Red Queen's answer sparked outrage. 10 minutes after you left the hive, Umbrella's emergency team entered, underestimated the danger, and opened the blast doors, releasing the infected and accelerating the spread. I should have shot that fool when I had the chance. How many fighters do we have? Rain asked, fully kitted out. Peyton answered. PD officers plus armed civilians, 240 total. Kaplan paled. So 240 of us against 10,000 zombies. Fewer. Actually, many lack training, and ammo is scarce. Thanks to Kent we've scrounged every weapon in Raccoon City, but headshots aren't easy. We'll have to shred bodies with heavy fire. Peyton's words deepened the gloom. Any outside contact? Kaplan shook his head. Umbrella's jamming everything, we're on our own. Silence fell. Anger and despair warred on every face. Carl clapped for attention. It'll be hell, but we've got no choice, 4,000 lives depend on us. Time to go full throttle. Jill stepped forward. Tell us what to do. The others nodded. Every gaze fixed on Carl. Plain truth. We fight. Regular zombies are slow, easy targets. I fear the zombie dogs, lickers, nemesis. Only Jill, Alice, and I can handle those. And we must watch for Colonel Kane's tricks. Everyone understood Carl's meaning. Recalling Kane's gloomy stare as he left last night, they all felt a trace of unease. First, Red Queen, your task is the most critical. I've handed you control of the 6 drones I brought. Monitoring elsewhere is pointless now. Holding the Raccoon City Police Department is our top priority. I need you to pilot 3 drones, watching the 3 approach roads for zombie movement and sharing every scrap of intel with us. 2 will patrol the police department building to stop anyone slipping in from an unexpected direction, and the last will watch inside to prevent sabotage. Any questions? None, Father. Excellent. At that, Carl produced the remotes for the remaining 4 drones. These remotes are linked to Red Queen so we can stay in contact. I have 1, Alice has 1, and this one is for you, Jill. The 3 of us will each take a road. Besides helping the teams already there, our main job is to eliminate threats ordinary people can't handle. Jill and Alice exchanged a curious glance. If Jill had doubted she was up to the job before, one night of the miraculous power her boyfriend had given her left her brimming with confidence. No problem. No problem. The 2 answered in unison. Good. Then this remote goes to you, Rain. Compared with the zombies outside, Dr. Ashford's life is just as important. He's the world's future hope, so I'm putting his safety in your hands. Though she wouldn't fight beside Carl, Rain knew the task's weight and nodded as she accepted it. This one's yours, Peyton. Over 4,000 people are left in the building. I believe most are decent, but there's always 1 or 2 who like to make trouble. That's your beat. Got it. Leave it to me, it's what I do best. The black police officer Peyton took the remote. And the last one to you, Kaplan. Do what you do best. Watch everything through the remote. From here on we fight separately, we may not be able to help each other. The instant you spot anything wrong, or if someone's in danger they can't handle, you tell me. No problem. Kaplan accepted gladly. Fighting monsters himself was the last thing he wanted. With that, Carl had issued every order he could. Then let's begin this war against the zombies and save Raccoon City. Outside Meishan Bridge, Raccoon City. In Umbrella Corporation's temporary camp. A sullen-faced Kane was studying Raccoon City's every change through the citywide surveillance system. At that moment a tall, skinny man wearing glasses walked in. Boss, are the UBCS squad here? Let them in. UBCS, Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service. Though they, like Rain and Kaplan's USS team, belong to Umbrella Corporation, their duties are completely different. In short, while both are special forces, UBCS is essentially a private army focused on combat, whereas USS is a special ops unit concentrating on infiltration and intelligence theft. As Kane finished, the tent flap lifted and a 5-man squad entered. Leading them was a strikingly handsome, justice-oozing man, Carlos Oliveira, captain of the squad. Seeing the 5 walk in, Kane cut straight to the chase. I assume you already know your mission. Carlos hesitated. On the way he had learned everything that had happened in Raccoon City. Still, as a soldier, he answered without wavering. Yes, extract Dr. Ashford from the Raccoon City Police Department. Good. Don't disappoint me, you have only 13 hours. Move out now, I'll have people coordinate with you. Understood. As Carlos left, Kane turned back to the monitors, waiting to see what might unfold. Just then the phone beside him rang, making him frown. But when he saw the caller ID he immediately changed expression and answered cautiously. Hello, Ms. Alicia. I can explain. An aged voice came from the other end. No, Kane, I didn't call to listen to explanations. From this moment on I grant you P7 level authority within Umbrella Corporation. Kane froze. As head of the Hive his authority had only been P6. Many of Umbrella Corporation's assets had been beyond his reach. Promotion to P7 meant he was now on the same level as Isaac. Was this a promotion? And why at such a critical moment? I know you have questions, but I have no intention of explaining. I'm giving you one task. Use the company's products to test the limits of Alice and the man called Carl Lance. Do you understand? Kane frowned, then relaxed. He realized he didn't need to understand Ms. Alicia's reasons, he only needed to finish the mission and climb higher inside Umbrella Corporation. Understood, Ms. Alicia. Leave it to me, I'll complete the mission flawlessly. Don't disappoint me. Click. As the call ended, a smile spread across Kane's face. He turned to a nearby technician. Confirm my current authority level. Congratulations, Colonel Kane. Your level has risen to P7. You may now deploy all test subjects at Umbrella Corporation's Raccoon City headquarters. Excellent. Let me see what surprises we have. Instantly file after file appeared on the screen, and Kane's expression turned from surprise to delight. Meanwhile, driven by hunger, the zombies of Raccoon City began noticing the police department, a place storing large numbers of living humans. In the streets, countless zombies surged forward like a tide. The terrifying sight terrified not only the officers on guard but also the civilians inside the building watching through the windows. Will Daddy win? Of course. Rain gently stroked the heads of Emma and Angela, though her own worried gaze was fixed downstairs. At that moment Carl too was watching the approaching zombie horde. Aren't we opening fire yet? A young officer beside him asked in panic, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Don't be afraid, Kent. Carl steadied the rookie, calming him, and when the zombies were only 250 meters away he swiftly gave the order. Fire! Instantly the vast square erupted with the roar of countless rifles and machine guns. Thanks for watching.